Lions fans. It's time for the podcast you've been waiting for. The show where Kool-Aid runs blue, faces turn red, and rose-colored glasses never go out of style. This is the Detroit Lions Podcast, your Detroit Lions and Reddit connection. And now, two guys who have never dropped a Matthew Stafford pass, Chris and Case.
Hey, howdy-ho, Lions fans. Welcome to the Detroit Lions Podcast, episode 261. This is the official Detroit Lions Podcast for Reddit. I am your dashing host, Chris. With me is my good friend and co-host, Case. How you doing, brother?
I am great, Chris. So I've been dating somebody, not physically seeing them, but virtually. It's going really well. I really like her.
Is this your girlfriend in Niagara Falls? It's an old movie reference for those
maybe
who are too young to know.
But no, I know our listeners are avidly interested in my personal life, so I figured I'd share that with them.
Yeah, I'm certain they are. All right, you can see we've got a whole rogues gallery of characters here today. If you're watching on the YouTube, if you're just listening, you'll still have a good time. But YouTube is a great way to check out this week's show. We've got Jeff Risdon, Scott Bischoff, Erik Schlitt, of course, Case, and myself here. We have got a very special show in which we are going to do a consensus NFL draft of the first 35 picks through the second Lions pick this year. We got a good long show. We're gonna do a lot of work. We'll see what we can do. You know, you can interact in the chat. That's a great time, and that'll be cool. And we'll have fun. We'll get you going. We got a great show lined up. Case, you ready to go, my man?
It has brought up a whole new meaning to asking somebody if they've been tested.
Let's kick this off and break it down.
All right, a couple of quick announcements. First, check us out and help us out on the Patreon. Special thanks to Dylan from Guam. Right.
Say it with me now.
It would have been funny to leave Case hanging out there. Of course, our very first Twitter, Mathis and Brian B. I prevailband.com. Check them out. Great stuff going on. You can join the crew to help support the show and help us do all these great things at patreon.com/DetroitLionsPodcast. Patreon.com/DetroitLionsPodcast. One of the coolest things is the Slack chat. It's the best way to hang out. The most intelligent Lions chat on the internet, I will say, barring none. And hang out with some great folks and still get your sports takes and conversation that you're not getting because the world has basically shut down. Again, Patreon.com/DetroitLionsPodcast. As little as $1 a month will get you aboard. Give us a like on Facebook, facebook.com/The Detroit Lions Podcast, Instagram, Detroit Lions Podcast, and on the Twitter machine at DET Lions Podcast, DET Lions Podcast. It's the very best place to see Case
with no pants on.
I definitely like you there. Subscribe on YouTube, youtube.com/Detroit Lions Podcast. Get all the good stuff there. Click notify so you know when we go live. Also rate us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, iHeart, Pandora, all those places. Wherever you go, give us those 5-star reviews. We love them, and they're forever. It means so much. Lastly, give us a call via Skype, Detroit Lions Podcast. That's all one word. Or on the Lions line at 929-33-LIONS, 929-335-4667. Leave a message, get a chance to hear yourself on the show. That's it. Let's get this thing going. All right. It's a little bit different now. We are going to do a 35 pick first round into the second NFL draft. This is the consensus of our experts. We have Jeff Risdon from Lions Wire here. We have Erik Schlitt, also from Lions Wire here and the Lions Breakdown Podcast. We have Scott Bischoff here, WJR Podcast. He's a pretty smart guy if you listen to the last show. And Case, who's probably the least of the bunch, but he's hanging on for fun.
Who's
right?
the experts here?
Got a really good show. This is going to be a lot of fun. We're building a consensus draft 1 through 35. You can see the stream across the bottom, the scroll, and that'll tell you as to see who did what along the way. We're going to allow trades. We're going to let guys pick different players, but it's got to be a consensus trade. So if someone decides to take the trade, the rest of the team has to agree. And of course, I will be hosting and breaking ties and maybe a few kneecaps along the way. So that's it. We're set up. Is everybody here ready to go? Are we good, guys?
Let's do it.
All right.
Let's roll.
All right, let's break into it. We'll start off the draft. I don't have any great music or anything for it. We're just going to get right into it. Pick 1 goes to, who knows who's picking first? I think we have a consensus pick without even saying anything. We got Cincinnati Bungles up there. Let's start. Case, who do you want to pick on round 1 here?
I'm pretty sure for Sin City they have some options, but it's probably Burrow.
Burrow. Okay, that's probably the one that you're going to get right today, Case. But we'll see what the what the team says. Riz, why Burrow?
I'll take the win.
Why Burrow number one?
Why not? It's what's going to happen.
What about Tua? He's got the higher ceiling.
No, so my goal in mock drafts, and I know Erik does this too, we are picking what we think teams will do. And
right, and that's how I approached it.
That's our goal tonight. We are not picking what we would do. We are indicating what we believe the teams will do given the certain situations. Being, 22 days out?
Yes.
We're trying to get this so it's accurate. We're not trying to get it so we like it. I happen to like Joe Burrow at number one because he's the best quarterback in the draft, and they need a quarterback. So there you go.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. Bischoff, let's go with you, my man. Scott, you want to argue with these guys? You can pull out the gloves now or later or both. It's fine.
Well, I don't think it's as much an argument as just at the Senior Bowl, I don't think it was 100% clear that the Bengals were 100% taking Burrow, right? So, Jeff, I don't know if you were hearing that kind of stuff too, but it was,
there was whispers about Chase Young possibly being in the equation. That's
well,
true.
They specifically asked for Justin Herbert to be on their roster.
They did.
So, but does it mean do I think they're going to do anything other than take Burrow? No. So I don't know why I interrupted and said anything, to be honest with you. It doesn't make a whole bunch of sense what I did.
Yeah, and I think it's easy.
Well, we have to manufacture some kind of conversation here.
Well, we will. There'll be plenty to come. I think the Justin Herbert thing is the opportunity for them just to confirm the Burrow thing, right? Just to make sure that that's their guy. Why not take a crack at somebody else who has, Herbert looks like he could be a good NFL talent. He's the guy that has, a lot of the pieces in place right now. Is he one of the top players? No, but he's one of those guys that could surprise a little bit and do well in the right kind of NFL situation. I have a feeling they just wanted to check him out.
We'll hear his name again later, I'm sure.
I think he's a touch robotic. Mm-hmm. And it shows he's a little bit like he needs to see it open before he wants to throw it. And he has enough arm strength to be able to do that. Right. So it's not necessarily a huge knock on his game, but he does need to see it. He's not real creative like Burrow and Tua are with anticipation and other things. So, if you want to drive the ball down the field and go vertical, he can really do those kind of things. But, Burrow is, I think Burrow is going to be the first pick in this draft.
Sure. Erik, do you want to say some of the things you were saying off the air about Scott, or do you just want to go with
let's go.
No, I don't think there's any question that it's going to be Burrow. People get hung up on him only starting 1 year, but he really started kind of a year and a half, a little bit into the season prior, and he was pretty consistent throughout the whole time. I think this is a no-brainer right here.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we're going to lock him in. He should be on the scroll here very, very quickly. Bam. All right, let's move on. Pick 2, the Washington Redskins. This is an interesting one. There's a lot of talk about trade at 3. We saw it in the Twitter, Riz, and I know you sometimes want to pull some of that gorgeous hair out when people say, what about trading to 3 instead of 2? Let's let you take this one. Washington at 2. What do you think? Are they picking? They trading? What's going to happen?
I think they're picking for the sake – actually, I do think they're going to get trade offers, but I don't think that anybody is going to move up or entice them enough that they will move off of taking Chase Young. And I know that goes counter to what I've said a lot, but I just get the feeling that I think they want to get the best player in the draft, and I think Ron Rivera can understand that. I don't think they take Tua because of his history with Cam Newton as a number 1 quarterback who got hurt a lot. And Tua comes in, he's damaged goods, and oh, by the way, he's 7 inches shorter and about 80 pounds lighter than Cam. Not 80, but a lot. Tua is Johnny Manziel sized. I don't think people realize that. He's a small dude, and I don't think that that's going to appeal to Ron Rivera, and I also think it's going to be more repellent to other teams than we might think. So I think they're going to get offers, but not enough to move up, and they'll take Chase Young.
So are you along for the ride here, Erik, that we want to call him Tua football?
No, I think Chase is going to be extraordinarily appealing, but Washington does not have a second-round pick right now.
Right.
That's true.
And they have a massive need at offensive tackle. And if you are entertaining trading down and you're staring at the San Diego Chargers, who are willing to offer you a first, a second, a fourth, and maybe a first rounder next year, that's going to be awfully appealing to Ron Rivera. And so that's what I would say to Jeff is, Jeff, would you be, if you are owning this pick, are you going to or would you be willing to entertain the Chargers first, second, fourth, first rounder next year to trade up for 2?
I was just going to say, if you throw that first rounder next year, and I'd do that.
Okay. Because I think that's realistic.
It is. They're doing a regime change. They not only changed coaches, they changed GMs, and Bruce Allen had to go. This is a chance for them to make a big imprint. If you're going to get that many picks, and you can still get, like you said, Trent Williams isn't going to be back. He's made that clear. That means that they have a massive hole at left tackle. So, I definitely consider that. I wouldn't stop that. Let's put it that way.
Let me push over to Case really quick. Case, one of the things, if the Chargers start making offers, right, that means the price goes up. And you guys have heard me tell the story about the escalation of commitment where we had vice presidents at my company bidding over $100 for a $20 bill, right? When people get focused on something, they want it, they go deep and they go hard for it. Case, what do you think if that, if Miami feels that the Chargers are going to get their guy, are they willing to part with a whole boatload of treasure and jump ahead of the Chargers in that to get that quarterback of their dreams?
Maybe. But my thought here has a lot more to do with Dan Snyder and who I think he is as a owner GM thing that I do with their needs and I think he would view it through the lens of he wants to make people like him, and he's not very successful at that. Overall, but he wants to make people like him, and I think under the current circumstance that he's most likely to recognize that the way to do that is by taking the obvious best player in the draft, and so that's why I think they would just be happy with Chase Young. But I'm not disagreeing with trade opportunity at all. I think that is a thing that could very much come to fruition. And if we as a group decide that's the direction we're going here, I'm fine with that. I just think Dan Snyder, he wants to, boost his persona, and I think that this is the easiest way for him to do that in the short term.
Is to get his guy. Yeah. Okay. Scott, it was just mentioned in the chat that they thought you had an amazing poker face. They didn't realize it was a static picture.
Nobody knows what he's thinking over there.
I never blink. It's crazy.
How about you straighten us out over here? What do you think here at number 2 for Washington? What's going to happen?
Well, I mean, we can talk about the O-line being a need, and the Trent Williams stuff has to resolve itself. But going forward, you have a new coach, you have a new GM. They're not tied to Dwayne Haskins at all. Mm-hmm. So it's really not relevant whether or not, if they're not tied to him, my thoughts are the fastest way to get your franchise relevant is through the quarterback position.
Yep.
And they have an opportunity at 2 overall to take, we can argue about the injuries and wherever it is. And maybe it's not even Tua that they take. Who knows? It's just, are you passing up the opportunity to take a franchise quarterback? I don't know that I'm not sure if you're doing that with a new coach, new GM, and the opportunity to reboot the entire franchise. I'm not sure they're passing up that opportunity, whether Chase Young is available or not. I don't know. I mean, it's just a thought process.
Okay.
I don't want to argue it either way, because to me, both sides of it make sense. Mm-hmm. Ryan Kerrigan's going to be a free agent. He's 32, I think. Mm-hmm. So Chase Young's kind of a natural fit there. I think he would be fine there. It's just, do you think you're going to have an opportunity to draft a franchise quarterback next year? Maybe they'll be bad enough, right? I mean, maybe they will. But if they have a big grade on Tua or Herbert, my guess is that they would take the quarterback over anybody. So I guess that's where I would attack that.
And they're pretty strong at defensive line, right? I mean, it's not like it's a glaring
3 firsts in a row. They've taken Daron Payne, Jonathan Allen, and Montez Sweat. And Montez Sweat plays the exact same spot and the exact same way that Chase Young does.
gotta remember.
And he's
Montez,
good.
I remember Montez Sweat at Senior Bowl last year. Riz.
His one-arm bull rush, knocking everybody on their ass.
Stab. Oh my God!
Beautiful.
I thought he was going to come out the guy's back with his heart in his
He's
hand.
he's a
Holy
really
cow.
good player.
Yeah.
He had a good year last year too.
Yep.
Nobody else did, but he did.
Let's get to a consensus. We put ourselves in the mind of Dan Snyder. So I don't know if you need to drink a little more, punch yourself in the temple a couple times, get a little dizzy. Let's come. What are we going to do if we're Washington? Are we trading? Are we taking this trade with the Chargers? Or
I'm willing to jump on board with Riz and Schlitt on this if that's the direction we're going. So
if I would be, if that's the trade, if it's a 1, a 2, a 4, and a first next year, I got to think that Rivera's taken that because it gives him a chance to put a big stamp on his own franchise, and they can still get a quarterback at what Chargers are 6, right? They can get a quarterback there.
Yep. Okay, so we've got San Diego. Who do they take? At number 2. The
Chargers?
Yeah. At number
they're
2.
taking Tua. They're taking Tua.
Yeah.
If they're trading up, they're getting Tua.
That's where we're. Yeah.
Okay. You guys have to answer the question. I can't answer these for you, right?
And that's the reason why that trade is gold, is because if you're taking Tua, there's a really good chance he's not going to play for you. That means Tyrod Taylor's playing for you next year, which means I don't think you're drafting like
right.
top.
And by the way, Tyrod Taylor has a very similar skill set to Tua. That's hard to say. And he's also been that mentor before. When he was in Cleveland, when Baker Mayfield was there, it took him 2.5 games before he sucked bad enough that they put Baker in. He's a perfectly fine caretaker who can keep you relevant until Tua is healthy and ready.
Yep. Right, but he's not putting you over the top. I think that you would look. The Redskins would look at that pick next year as a top 10 pick.
Yeah,
and that's just gold.
Yeah.
All right, so that takes us in, and you guys know the scroll's already updated. I'm on top of this. We got this rolling. This is good stuff, guys. All right, we're moving on to number 3. I guess I don't know if you guys are familiar with this team. It's the Detroit Lions. Okay,
the Debt Riot.
Yeah, it was hard to read that one. Sorry, I got a little messed up. All right, what are you guys thinking? We got the Lions here. Chase Young is still on the board. Jeffrey Okudah is still on the board, and for me. I'm not waiting. I'm just hosting here. The pick is obvious, but go ahead and start. Erik, what do you think, my man? Where are we going here?
I know that Pro Football Focus has made a big deal recently about the comparison between value on an edge rusher versus a cornerback. But in my mind, there's really no comparison right now, especially for the Lions. Chase Young is the obvious pick. I like Okudah. I like Okudah a ton. Yeah. I think he's one of the rare players in this draft, but Chase is just better. And so it would be Chase Young for me. Slam dunk.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, Scott, what are you thinking, my man?
So in the scenario that Burrow goes 1 and Tua Tagovailoa goes 2nd, I don't think there's any way the Miami Dolphins are not picking 3rd. Period. Story.
Interesting.
It will not happen. I mean, there's no way the Lions make a pick at 3 if 2 quarterbacks go 1 and 2. It just Miami's forced. I think that's great for Detroit because they're going to get whatever they want from Miami to have. Miami's going to have to come up. They are.
Well, okay.
Explain why? Because nobody else needs the quarterback.
Nobody else needs a quarterback.
Yeah, Carolina. That's realistic to move up. Carolina's not going to do it. Who else is picking it high? The Jaguars they're not going to do it.
You don't think Jacksonville could do it with 2 first-round picks, or the Raiders would do it with 2 first-round picks?
No, I think they're happy with what they got.
I don't know.
They just got rid of Foles so they could clear the way for Gardner Mustache to take over.
Okay, I mean, I'm not buying any of that.
Well, okay. I don't disagree with Scott that Miami's going to want to make a move, because I do think there will be some pressure from a couple other teams that would want to or be interested in going up. The difference here is I don't know if the Lions would be willing to move off of 3. And I mean, you would have to surrender all 3 of your first.
Jacksonville's at 9, right?
Yeah. Detroit's not going to want to go there.
That's going too far.
They have pick 9 and pick 20.
Yeah,
my guess is you'd be getting a first you'd be getting futures too.
You'd be getting 9, 20, probably a 3rd this year and a 1st next year.
I don't know how you're not doing that.
I would not. I'd stay.
Okay.
I want to agree with you, Scott, because I actually want that to happen. I just don't think they would. I'm not on board entirely with the idea that Miami would be that desperate to do it.
So
Miami would be doing. So Miami would be giving up what, 5 and probably their second
18.
first 18, and so that's a Pittsburgh pick, and then they probably
26
give. They'd probably keep one of those and give the second, would be my guess, is what they would offer.
So 5 and 26.
526 and their second round pick.
Yeah.
39.
This is tough because that's a lot of treasure for a team that needs picks and players,
Now, see, if you're telling me that it's 5, if it's that, then I do think the Lions would do it. I don't think, like Erik said, I don't think they're going to 9, which I think is the next realistic team that would go to a quarterback. But if it's Miami that's offering that, Scott, then yeah, I think you're probably onto something.
And there's just a good point from Mike in the chat. Chicago moved up 1 spot to get Biscuit. Remember that. People do some silly things sometimes.
I guess the point I'm making is that they went through all of that last year and they won some games and it kind of pushed them away from the first pick. But you traded Minkah Fitzpatrick. You did everything you did last year, and you're all in this year with a bunch of free agent moves, and then you don't land one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the draft because you're not willing to come up. I think that's malfeasance on like a level that would be enough to that would be incredible if that happened. That's all I'm saying. So in the scenario, I'm not saying the Lions would take a quarterback because I think they would take Chase Young. But then what do the Giants do? Our team's coming up to 4 to jump the Dolphins.
Right. Would Jacksonville jump to 4? I understand you. That's where you're going with that, right, Scott?
Yes. So if it's Jeff, it's essentially the argument you're making. Why wouldn't they just come to 2 if they want a quarterback?
Right. I buy that. I do.
That's all. So is it going to be Chase Young? Is that where we're at?
Well, you made a compelling argument. Let's see. Casey, got to weigh in here. What do you think? Is Scott staring you down over there? He's not blinking.
I mean, it really was an impassioned argument. I'm not on board personally.
Okay.
So you would not take, just to lay out the trade, 5, 26, and a second.
No. I would.
You don't think the Lions will?
Right.
Okay.
I think if the Lions were going to 5, they'd entertain it a lot more.
I agree.
But I also think that the compensation, we might be overcompensating what the pick's worth here.
Right. And that's kind of where my head is at.
Now, I could see 5 and 26 and then maybe 56, which is their second round pick. But then that next year pick is probably going to be like a third. It's not going to be a first like San Diego or like the Chargers just gave up.
That is roughly what the Texans gave up to get Deshaun Watson from Cleveland.
Right.
That's about the same. Like, I'm doing the math in my head. I don't remember the exact details of the trade, but it was 11, 20, a second, and a first.
And if
is
ever,
what they got.
If ever,
and they moved up from way the hell out. They moved up from 11 to 4.
And if ever you're going to see this front office make a move for now, right? They've been doing really good about kind of smoke screening out the kind of win now mandate that kind of sits there right now, right? This would be the way that they would do that, right? They would forego that future pick, let that come a little lower so they can get their guys now. It's just hard to give up, right? I mean, my problem is when we started this, it's like, okay, Chase Young, I absolutely love him. He's spectacular, right? I just have this weird crush on Jeffrey Okudah. I think he's going to be good for a long time, and to be able to step from Slay to Okudah for this team, I think is going to be just really, 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 really valuable. So it's hard for me in my heart to say I want Okudah. my heart wants Okudah. My brain says Chase Young at 3, right? If this front office walks out of this draft without either one of those because of a trade, I've said it. I said it on Twitter today. Somebody's going to hold down Bob Quinn and make him gargle a mouthful of carpet tacks because it's just going to be all over. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to leave it to you guys. I'm just weighing in here a little bit, but it's your decision. What's the consensus on what we're doing here at 3?
I think it all comes down to what the actual trade is. Is it 5 and 26 and 56 and then a third next year. Is that what we're thinking? Because that's close to.
Yeah, you know what? And I would say this because I do think, to go back to the Pro Football Focus argument for a minute, which was a really good thread, by the way. Because it does present the Okudah side of things very, very nicely and very validly. And the Lions, most people know, they were early adopters into the Pro Football Focus, the whole analytics, the value added per position and evaluating positions differently than what some other teams do. And I can see them valuing the lockdown corner, and they know that they would get him at 5 because I don't think the Giants are even thinking about going cornerback at 4. And that if you're putting the Bob Quinn head mask on me, I would say, yeah, I can go to 5 and get a player, Okudah, who is, let's say, equal to Chase Young in terms of what he can do for our team. And I'm going to get those extra picks, then I think I'm probably with Scott on that.
So if we agree, and I here's what I'll say. I'm willing to go along with it. I don't necessarily agree that that's what we'd be offered. But if we as a group more or less generally feel that is something that could realistically be offered, I'm all for it.
So 526 and a third is what we're standing at right now, right?
No, 56, which is the second of their second round picks.
Yep.
I think if it's going, the thing that we don't know is how much value is he going to put into a draft pick next year? Right. Would he be willing to take 5 and then 2 second round picks, like 39 and 56, and then a second rounder next year? Because I don't know if Miami wants to give up a second first round pick.
Okay.
And I mean, I just don't know. I know the Lions would take it, but would they be willing to take 5, 39, 56? They might still be willing to take that, in all honesty.
All right. So here's the Sam Darnold trade.
Mm-hmm.
The Colts moved from 6 to 3. They also sent 37 and 49 and a second round pick the next year.
Well, there you go. That's Miami's 5, 39, 56, and then a second round pick in the 2021.
That was 2018, so that's fairly relevant.
So now, does Bob Quinn value Chase Young or Jeffrey Okudah enough that those?
By the way, the Colts won that trade something fierce by trading up.
Yep.
Or by trading back. They got Quentin Nelson, Braden Smith, Kamoko Toure, and Jordan Wilkins, but they traded one of those and got Rock Ya-Sin out of it too. So they got 4 starters and a good backup running back out of it.
So I think that's the crux of where this comes in, is that you pass on Chase Young, because I think he would go at 4 if you move back.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, if you move back, Chase Young is the number 4 pick. There's no way the Giants are taking him.
Yep.
So do you pass on Chase Young for a bunch of guys who are going to, for what you would say is Okudah, and then some guys who you hope come in and start for you and are good NFL players?
Right.
I have news. The Lions need a bunch of those guys.
You're right. That's a big that's big news. Front page stuff, buddy.
It's Chase Young would really help. He's one guy. Mm-hmm. They're not one guy away.
I agree with that.
Yep.
All right, let's take the trade.
All right.
Yep.
So help me with this trade. We're going 3 to 5, and did we pick anything else?
Scott, that was well done.
No, they're going to acquire 39 and 56.
Okay.
39, 56, and then either first or second next year, which is inconsequential for what we're doing today.
Right.
Gotcha. All right, and we and the Miami Dolphins with the 3rd pick in the NFL draft choose
Scott.
Justin Herbert.
Thank you. You guys got to
right.
And it is true. It is true that
they ain't moving up for Jordan Love.
We have seen it happen so many times in the past, where the quarterback class gets downplayed and downplayed and downplayed, and then right up until draft day, and then the people spend out the something
the wazoo
for them. Yeah, thank you. We're in mixed company here. I'm trying to be on my best behavior.
Can we swear? I do have to ask. Should have asked her.
We can. Not gratuitously, but we can. There's a couple of words, like you think about the 7
we got
words,
demonetized once. Yeah, because I was imitating an Australian caller
And then the Australian caller called the next one and said the same word and got us demonetized again.
All right, I'm not going to swear. I'll do my best.
You can. Just think of the core 7 that you don't want to say.
The George Carlin 7? Is that?
Yeah.
Kind of?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So Justin Herbert in the 3rd. We got the New York Giants on the clock at 4. Next time I am going to build a clock. And there's one thing I want you guys to think of, and this is a great point from the chat. Along the way here, the Lions could combine some of these seconds,
right,
and move up.
They could move back into the first if they want to.
So just keep that in mind in the back of your mind and see if along the way that this.
Because now they have 2 seconds and 2/3.
3 seconds.
Oh, that's right. 3. That's
3,
right.
yeah. 35, 39, 56, 67, and 85.
I do love that.
Wow. Thank you for writing that down. I appreciate that.
I got it, and it's my OCD.
This is why I need an
This is why we work well together, Eric, because I would never do that.
Case's OCD is like, how many beers are in the fridge? Oh, there's 13 of this kind and 9 of the other, and that's about as far as we get.
You're not wrong.
All right, so now we move on to the New York Giants at number 4. Case, Scott, I'm sorry, you are at lead for this one. Who do you think the Giants are going to take?
It would be Chase Young.
And Case, do you want to argue?
Nope.
Jeff?
We've discussed
Eric?
Chase Young.
Yeah,
at pretty
it's Chase Young.
length at this
It's
point.
Chase
I think that we can all
We will move
agree
on
to that.
Then that was time well spent because we didn't waste it here then on the second pick. So we got Chase Young going to the New York Giants at 4, and these Detroit Lions are now picking number 5 from Miami. There they are. I know who the obvious pick is to me.
I do appreciate you guys all making my pick relatively easy for me.
This is like, oh my God, twice he gets this. This is Case's life. Just so anyone knows, he just falls right into it.
Repeatedly. Jeffrey Okudah, cornerback.
Yeah, no argument.
It makes my heart happy. Eric, you're there. Scott, no one's arguing, right?
There's nothing to argue.
No.
I did all this work. I literally spent 12 hours over the last 24 hours working on this. So,
homework wasn't his best subject. Let's put it that way. Cramming.
So we are through 5 picks now.
Yep.
And we don't have an offensive lineman yet. All the wide receivers are still there. Justin Simmons still out there. All the.
Did you say Justin Simmons?
No,
Isaiah. That's what
Isaiah
he said.
Simmons.
You heard Justin. All right. So
what if I told you that Justin Simmons is better than Isaiah Simmons?
Ooh, I believe you.
I'm not arguing.
Why we're friends, Scott.
All right. We're at number 6, Washington. Riz, a.k.a. the Tiger King. Boy. It was from
By the way, I watched Tiger King last night. The only thing that I got out of it is I wanted all those people to get eaten by those cats. That's all I really wanted. What a horrible show.
Riz was checking in periodically as he's watching the series. A little more to drink, a little more to drink. A little
What
more.
the hell, man?
It was more fun to follow him than the show itself.
Oh my goodness. No, so Washington, they need a lot of things. They need, other than defensive line, so they need offensive line, offensive tackle, and you're making me pick which offensive tackle I think Ron Rivera would take. Wow.
It is tough.
It's going to be Andrew Thomas or Tristan Wirfs. One of those two. Although Becton, let me think about that. I do think it's definitely got to be offensive tackle here because they do have a number 1 wide receiver in Terry McLaurin already. I think it's everybody
left tackle.
Yes, because they have Morgan Moses at right tackle. He's sort of Rick Wagner when he came to Detroit. So.
Yeah, I mean, if they're moving away from Trent Williams, I think you got to replace the left tackle. And to me,
I think it's Becton.
I think it's Becton or Thomas in this class. Eric, what do you think?
I think it's Becton or Wirfs. Becton stands out to me as just that big body that it seems like Rivera always seems to lean on. Wirfs is my number 1, so I'm always going to put him in the mix. And but
he's 6'3.5" and has short arms. So that is I don't think it impacts his ability to play at all, but there are some people that will be like, oh, he can't play left tackle.
6'5".
Who's that? Wirfs?
Is he 6'5"?
Yeah, Wirfs is 6'4" and 7/8 with 34-inch arms.
That's plenty long. Why do people say he's not long enough?
He's going to play left. He's a future
That's
left
what
tackle.
I am.
Yeah.
The whole arm length thing is so weird. It's tied to your feet, and if you can't move your feet, it doesn't matter how long your arms are. And if I mean, in some cases, I look at a player like Andrew Thomas, and I think his arms are too long.
It's not the size of the boat; it's the motion of the ocean, baby.
Yeah, it's just
goodness.
If you can move your feet and you have heavy hands, you can play left tackle. I think the arm length thing is a little bit overblown. But looking at Wirfs playing right tackle at Iowa, I don't know how much mentality we're giving there. Like, are we thinking that he's limited to right tackle or guard?
So I'll address that real quick because Kirk Ferentz, the Iowa coach, said it yesterday, and I ran it on Browns Wire because the Browns desperately number 10 pick will be an offensive tackle. By the way, spoiler alert.
We'll give it to you. Don't worry. You can start.
He said that if he were in the NFL, he would play Wirfs at left tackle. He played right tackle in college because Alaric Jackson, who will be a middle round pick next year, cannot play on the right side. He had to play left.
Correct. Yep, I heard that same thing.
Now, are we worried about scheme? Because I don't know how in the weeds we want to get on this, but Wirfs to me does not look like a power gap guy. He's more of an outside-inside zone type.
Becton would be much more of that.
Correct.
Becton is your power gap destroyer of souls. I mean, he is just a monster. So
he'd be fun next to Brandon Sheriff.
On offense. I mean, I don't know.
So are we between Becton and Wirfs here?
Yeah, and I think the NFL in general is going to see Becton higher than they see Wirfs, right or wrong.
I think that's true. I don't know that it's right, but I think it's true.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Well, by that.
Erik,
in order in terms of where I saw them in terms of talent, in terms of coming off the board, for that sake, I had it Thomas, Wirfs, Wills, Becton. But I have no problem with any mixing up of that combination based on a team seeing the guy that they think fits them the best.
And why not Jedrick Wills?
I think he's a little bit overhyped. I think he's a right tackle in the NFL. Mm-hmm. His big issue, and I actually had this discussion with Kyle Krabs from Draft Network. Shameless plug for him today. We were talking about how he doesn't like to sustain blocks. He's a hit and run guy, and that's not typically what Ron Rivera has liked. Mm-hmm. I'm just thinking that. We were talking about it for purposes of the Browns, and it's definitely not what Kevin Stefanski and the Browns in a Kubiak-style offense want.
Sure.
He's a guy, Alabama does that weird thing where they want defenders to run into the chest of the offensive tackle because it takes them that much longer to get through them. They want them to try to go through them instead of trying to go around them. And for some guys it works, but like the Kwanjo brothers, Cam Robinson, it has not worked at the next level. Mm-hmm. And there's some worry about that with Wills. And we have heard this about the NFL. I know Scott has too.
Okay, so we still feel like we're between Wirfs and Becton here. Is that where we're landing, guys? All right, I'm going to start with you, Riz. You got to put your vote in. Wirfs or Becton here?
I'll go Becton.
Eric?
Yeah, same. Becton.
Mr. Bischoff?
Becton. Done.
Doesn't matter what you say, Case.
We'll buy into that. I'm fine to go along with the group in this circumstance. It's a genius call on my part, but.
All right, we're going to move on now. We've got Carolina in the 7th position. Eric, you are up to bat. What do you think we're doing over there without Ron Rivera? Who are we looking at?
Tricky part is they have a need on their interior defensive line, and they're switching to a 4-3. And so that now I think what the guys who come into play are Javon Kinlaw and Derek Brown. Mm-hmm. The real question is, what do they value more? Now, obviously, the 4-3, they're gonna want that penetrator, but do they have one in K1 Short there already? That's a tough question for me. So I know in the past we've talked about with Scott and Jeff, we've talked about Kinlaw being a fit here because of his penetrating skills, but I think because Short's there, I'm kind of leaning Derek Brown for this pick.
Interesting. Okay, Scott, Derek Brown was people were a little bit down on him after his combine performance. You think Derek Brown is the guy here?
I think he easily could be. He's a really, really good player. It's just, are you impacting the passing game from the interior. Is he a true nose? Is he a one? I think he's more a nose and a one. I think Kinlaw can do that too, but I also think he can play some three. So I understand why they would take Derek Brown, and I think it would make a ton of sense. He's going to eat space. He's going to eat blocks. He's going to make things much easier for everybody around them. It's just, I don't see him impacting the passing game as much as others have. There's been a comparison out there of Derek Brown as the next Ndamukong Suh, and I'm not sure I've ever understood that. I don't see that. I don't even see that I don't see any of that stuff even with Kinlaw. He's a much more disruptive player. But, if we're talking about a guy who's just going to eat space and make the job of those around him easier, that's Brown. It is Brown.
That's not a position that you would take at 7 overall, though.
And
I wouldn't personally, but
I wouldn't either.
Does this regime want to replace Kuechly?
Kuechly. Huh?
Kuechly.
They just paid Shaq Thompson $8 million today.
Yeah.
So I think that's their linebacker. If you're thinking of Isaiah Simmons, he's quite literally Shaq Thompson, who is their best player on defense. They don't need another one of them.
Yep. I'm just working out of the chat here. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right, Case, go ahead.
So, no, I have a scenario where a player was available for them that is available now. And to me, it's Simmons, and it's really not that big of a question mark for me. I get they need the interior defensive line. I get it. But I think Simmons is a much
Let's see what else
higher ceiling player
for them. All right, Riz, who are you picking? Let's try to see if we can round up.
I'm taking a quick perusal at their depth chart because I'm leaning towards Kinlaw.
Mm-hmm.
They did just get Russell Okung though, so that does change that dynamic a little bit. Right now, their defensive front right now is K'Wan Short, somebody called Woody Hamilton, and Chris Smith, who they signed. Chris Smith got cut by the Browns halfway through last year. He would be their number 3. Their defensive ends are Stephen Weatherly and Brian Burns.
Who are their cornerbacks? I think that's something.
Their cornerbacks. They have Dante Jackson. Corn Elders there. They have.
They lost Bradbury, right?
Yeah,
Bradbury is gone, so they could go corner. Although I don't think there's another corner here that you would take. Honestly, they're probably going to look to trade this. Just looking at their depth chart because they got some holes, man. Linebacker, if they're running, their inside linebackers right now would be Shaq Thompson and Tyre Whitehead.
Woo.
And I'll tell you what, just looking at their defense, that is the strength of their defense. They are bad at. Oh my God. Just looking at the projected left side, I'm looking at our lads. The left side of their defense is so bad. Oh my God. They're going defense here. Is there a cornerback? I mean, I don't think so. Their safeties are Trey Boss and Justin Burris. Those guys aren't bad, but
I think Eric's right. I think they're going to go on the interior of that defensive line.
Yeah. You know what? Looking at it this way, I think KK Short's pretty good. So, I kind of see why Derek Brown would make sense for them, honestly, looking at their depth chart, because Short is more like Kinlaw than he is like Brown. And if they're going to build around those guys, and Short's a good player, and I think that would also help Brian Burns a little bit. He's one of those guys, if he can get around the edge, he's great. But if he doesn't get around the edge, he's the worst player on the field.
That's true.
So
it's very true.
If you could play Kinlaw as a 1,
right,
and get some penetration and get some disruption in the backfield, I don't know how you're losing much over what Derek Brown does. You're just getting a little more pass rush productivity.
Right.
I don't think that it's Kinlaw and I don't think it's that Kinlaw and Short play the same position. I'm not sure that's how that would go.
Yeah, because I think Kinlaw can do a lot of different things. I think Brown probably can too, for that matter.
Yeah, just he can line up in a bunch of different spots. I'm not sure he's going to generate a bunch of pass rush for you. But if you don't care about that because you're getting it from Short and you're helping and you're making his job easier,
right? Then you are getting assuming that they're going to run the defense that I would with their personnel. You're going to have Burns screaming off the edge. You're going to have, Shaq Thompson's a very good blitzer up the gut. Zaire Whitehead can do that a little bit. I think they're going to be able to get it without necessarily having to have that secondary guy up front who can collapse the pocket too. So it sounds like I'm talking myself into Derek Brown.
It sounds like it.
I don't know that I want to do that.
He's a really good player, though. It's not like he's.
He is. He's very good. I like Kinlaw better, but
I do too. But let's vote.
All right, here we go. Start with Riz. You're on Derek Brown, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Eric, you've been a little bit quiet. You want to chastise Riz along the way here, or you want to?
No, I mean, I presented Brown there, so I might as well just stay with it,
just
right?
Ride it, and own it. Scott, you want to argue?
I'm going Kinlaw.
Okay, you got Kinlaw.
What do I have to do to get you on my side of that fence there, buddy?
You did it with the Miami trade. My goodness.
I want to see Chris have to
get
make
a long ways to go.
Here.
I'm an open-minded dude. You know that.
Oh yeah, I do.
This is. I just knew that is a drop for the future. Thank you very much, Riz. You manufacture these things like gold, man.
I truly think you guys are downplaying the blue chip nature of Isaiah Simmons, but I'm willing to buy in on the Brown thing.
Okay.
Oh my gosh!
Sorry, Scott. I don't have to do any work. Derek Brown is our pick for Carolina at number 7.
I wanted to make you, assert your authority over this and make a pick.
Oh, I wish I had Carmen here to play.
Sorry, Scott.
You will respect my authority. I've got something for your
nice.
Moving on, let's go Arizona. Scott, you have Arizona at 8. Looks like they need a quarterback. They didn't trade. Just teasing. Sometimes, like I throw the absurd out there, but I worry that people aren't going to realize I'm just jacking them around.
How many rookie quarterbacks are we going to play this year in week 1?
This is where I think Wirfs is in play.
Yeah.
I'm going Wirfs here.
I agree.
I'm too lazy to explain it.
No, I 100% agree.
Riz, we already got through Case. He was an easy play here. Are you good with Wirfs here for Arizona? Everyone looks past Arizona all the time.
Their cornerbacks are terrible. Again, I don't think there's another cornerback that should be taken here.
Who else is there to take?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
CJ Henderson's a good player.
I agree, but
I don't care for him. He's a good athlete who's occasionally a good football player.
I take him over Diggs, but I mean,
could they take wide receiver here? Just the thought of building their offense.
They picked up a star wide receiver in the offseason from your son's favorite team.
That's true. You know what? You're right. I was trying to block that out of my mind. Bill O'Brien, come on, dude.
And apologize to your son for that. I don't mean to give him a hard time.
Sorry, Lane. I am repping Houston, by the way.
There you go.
Yeah. You know what? They need offensive line too. So Wirfs makes sense for their offense because Kyler Murray likes to do his thing, as we saw last year in week 1.
Yep. Okay. Eric, are you down with Wirfs? Did you want to throw a wrench into the works at all, or?
Well, yeah, I mean, I agree. I think with the scheme that they have in Arizona and the mobility of Murray, they're going to need an offensive lineman who has some pretty significant athleticism. So that's Wirfs, right? Mm-hmm. You could make the argument that maybe they'd consider Simmons here.
I was just going to say that. Is this a place where Simmons would go?
Yeah, because
signed Devondre Campbell, who's an underrated, underappreciated player. They still have Hassan Reddick, who was roughly Isaiah Simmons, 3 years ago?
Yep.
Yeah.
Except he's not any good.
Yep.
And
we were talking about him a lot too. Boy, I'm glad we.
Yes, remember how everybody was all excited about him, and he's not good, folks. He doesn't have a position. Kind of hard to play if you don't have a position.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Your position is always away from the ball.
His position is chasing down people that the defensive line miss.
Yeah.
Eric and I have had this conversation, and I know Eric and Jeff have had this conversation. And Case, I'm curious about what you think about Simmons. Where does he play at the NFL?
Well,
where are we playing?
I agree. That is a difficult, question to answer, but it's not like we haven't seen some success out of players like that. And I'm not trying to say that I have an answer. I don't know where he plays, and it really depends where he goes and who does what with him. But we've seen players have success when they are that supremely talented in systems that just find ways to use them. And if you can do everything because you are physically capable of doing everything, the upside on that, and while this is not something I actually particularly want for the Lions, I don't want the Lions to draft Simmons. I should say that. I do think it is a thing that a lot of teams look at and say, well, we can make something out of this and we'll figure it out along the way.
Well, let me jump in here because they have a extremely talented first-round pick in Reddick that they couldn't figure out what to do with. Yeah. So what makes you think they're going to be able to do something with Simmons?
As the Cardinals are concerned.
I feel like Simmons is a guy that's going to drop, and he's going to drop far enough that he winds up being a good value for somebody who gets him, and they just have to figure out how to use him. But teams like this, who, just like you said, Eric, who have had this experience of trying to fit a guy in, they're not going to make that mistake again. I mean, that's the thing that costs people their jobs.
And it did.
Mm-hmm. All right, so where are we, boys? We got.
I think we're with
Werfs?
We're Werfs, are we not?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
right.
That's a done deal. Moving on to number 9, Jacksonville. Case, you are on the board, my friend. What are you thinking about the Jacksonville Jaguars at number
9? I think, given the current state of things, that if it comes to them and that's where he is, I think they take Simmons.
So we have to consider that they're likely losing Ngakoue.
Yeah,
right. They are.
Yeah, and Simmons is somebody who can amp up pass rush in one of his various forms.
Okay, they just signed Joe Schobert for $55 million, and they have Miles Jack. Those are literally the only 2 good players on their defense. That's where Simmons would play.
Yeah. No,
Their starting cornerbacks are former Lions DJ Hayden and Rashawn Melvin.
So let's really quick talk about this. Just really quick, we've talked about a couple of teams now that really, really need cornerbacks. They've got nothing.
Yes.
I'm not going to take us backwards. I just want to have this conversation. We took the Giants, we have the Giants taking Chase Young 4th. Is there anybody that trades up to 4 to get Jeffrey Okudah based on that need for cornerbacks that so many teams have?
That could happen. It could definitely happen.
Okay,
because I think we all agree that Okudah is clearly the number 1 cornerback. There's no question about it. Mm-hmm. He's the best cornerback I've seen in some time. And so where does that put you? You know, you cannot have Rashawn Melvin and DJ Hayden as your starting cornerbacks. You can't.
I mean,
right.
Did, but no, I'm sorry. We didn't actually. We had Slay, but past tense.
Keep in mind.
Go ahead.
Keep in mind the Jaguars do have a second first-round pick coming up at number 20.
They're at 20, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a sweet spot where you're going to be able to get a corner there. Most likely.
They can get a Fulton or a Henderson or somebody like that.
I like
there.
in that range.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna say, we played a little bit. I don't want to say fast and loose. We went quick with Chase Young to the Giants. If somebody trades with the Giants and takes Jeffrey Okudah, and we're back in 5th spot.
They're back with Chase Young again.
I guess we're back with Chase Young, so we're okay. Okay, I'm just thinking of those carpet tacks, right? I don't want to wind up seeing Bob Quinn's mangled face. Okay, cool. Jacksonville at 9. We're back here. We had Simmons. Right. We have Riz. Where are you at?
I want a wide receiver here because I think if they're going to build around the mustache, they got to get him more weapons. They're okay there. I think this is I prefer Jerry Jeudy. I actually prefer Henry Ruggs, but CeeDee Lamb also has to be in the conversation there. So I would go wide receiver here.
Okay.
And I'm thinking through that is, so talk amongst yourselves.
Eric, tell us why he's on crack.
Well, because they have Marquise Lee, DJ Chalk, and D.D. Westbrook, and Chris Conley. So that's 4 guys they could deal with. I'm going Kinlaw here because they have R.B. Jones as their nose tackle, and then Rodney Gunter. Rodney Gunter is their other defensive tackle right now. That's why Kinlaw.
They still have Taven Bryan.
Oh, God. Wait, who? I don't even see him on the depth chart here.
I'm with Erik. It's Kinlaw, and I'm really not debating.
You know what? I like it too. You've shown me the light, Erik. Again, this is why we work so well together. Thanks, bud.
I think you're all very wrong, but I'm willing to go along with it. So,
again, defensive tackle is a more valuable position than off the ball linebacker, and they have
I won't
literally.
I won't.
Their two best players on their defense are off the ball linebackers. I don't know where Simmons would play because he's not a safety. He's way too big for a safety in the NFL. Nobody's going to play him there. Just being real.
I won't argue with that. I think Kinlaw is a good player. So I just think it's weird to see Simmons fall this far. But we'll get there eventually.
It happens, my friend. And he did it without a gas mask. That's the amazing part about it. All right. That's one of my favorite draft moments. That and Archie Manning telling the Chargers that they're not going to be picking his son. All right, moving on. Cleveland, I know you have a warm place in the cockles of your heart there, Riz, for the Bears. We'll let you kick this one off.
My hometown.
Sorry, the Bears and Browns.
Yeah.
They're both B words, and neither one are great. Okay, go ahead.
They need offensive tackle. They're not even going to consider. If Kinlaw's gone, they're not even considering anybody else. So they got Andrew Thomas or Jordan Wills, or I'm sorry, Jedrick Wills. It's confusing. I will throw that Josh Jones also needs to be considered, and I think he will get considered. But knowing what they're going to do with their offense, I think it's going to be Wills.
Interesting.
Although, you know what? They signed Jack Conklin. He's a right tackle only. And I think Wills is a right tackle only. But Andrew Thomas is not a scheme fit. You know what? I'm going to go off. I'm going to go with Josh Jones here because I think his athleticism is going to get him taken there. And we saw in Mobile, he was really good in Mobile. Not so good on tape.
Yeah.
But he's got the athletic upside. He's able to explain why he kind of was a late bloomer athletically. He tells that story very well. I'm going to go with Josh Jones here.
All right. Josh Jones, Erik, I hear you whistling, and I know you're not looking at Riz's figure there. What do you got?
Well, it's tough to go against Jeff because he knows this team intimately, right? But
sadly,
I'm
and there's video. But go ahead.
I am a bit surprised that they wouldn't consider Wills because that's he's rated higher for me.
Would he play left
Jones
tackle
is.
though?
I think he probably could. It's probably might not be his best spot. I think he could do it though. Yeah. Remember Tua's left-handed, so he was protecting Tua's blind side for a long time. It's not uncommon for him. I mean, Saban put a lot of trust in him to execute that, but there are flaws that I think aren't talked about enough in Will's game. But in my mind, I think Wills is the better player. But it'd be hard for me to go. It'd be hard for me to go against what you think the Browns are going to do with your knowledge of them.
Why are we not considering Andrew Thomas?
He's not a scheme fit at all for what they want to do. They want light guys. They want guys who can move. They want guys who can get out in space and cut block. They want one of the things that we've learned from the Andrew Berry regime is they love consistent players. And Andrew Thomas, if you watch him. What was the game that he killed somebody? But you watch the South Carolina game.
That's usually makes you fall in the draft.
He didn't look like an NFL player. You watch the Kentucky game. He didn't look like an NFL star.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of his game. I don't know what everybody else thinks, but
I think he's going to be. So when I was at the Notre Dame Michigan game this year. An NFC South scout told me that he's Jason Peters. And I'm like, whoa, okay, wow. And I see that at times, but there are also times when I think he's Greg Robinson. And that's not a good word in Cleveland or Detroit.
Yeah, I see him reaching a lot, lunging a lot, and he's very strong and he's powerful, but a little bit too early with his hands, shooting his hands just way too early. It kind of leads to him to being off balance and just out of rhythm in his pass sets. So I don't see a lot of consistency like you were like, and if that's something they're really wanting, then that's not your guy. Right.
Yeah.
They need a tackle. They need a left.
They have to have a tackle. And they got Jack Conklin at right tackle. Chris Hubbard's going to be their backup. He's fine as their backup. He should never start again. Yeah. See, I'm debating Eric's point on Wills, and he is good, and I could see them doing that. But I think they're going to go with the athlete that Jones is, and I think they're going to trust their coaches to develop into something. And it is a little bit different because if you look, one of the comparisons that you see for Thomas is Phil Lodeholt, who Minnesota took while Stefanski was there and while a couple of their other guys are there. But yeah,
I think both Georgia offensive tackles look like Lodeholt. Isaiah Wilson, the other one, yeah, right.
Yeah, they have a type.
All right, so where are we landing? Seeing Riz off his game on the on the Browns is really, it just feels good to me.
I think they would take Jones. Is my personal take.
Think I can, even if I think it's wild and crazy that Jones would go before Thomas or Wills, I think that I would not put it past the Browns to do that. So
that's the other side of that coin, and you're not wrong. Yeah.
All right, Scott, you've been relatively quiet.
I would look at that, and I could totally understand why it would be Josh Jones. Totally get it. But do we think Josh Jones is startable now? Who starts for them?
No. I wouldn't.
So that's where I think Jedrick Wills can come in and play for you right now. Either tackle spot. I do. Now, I think Josh Jones' upside down the road might be a little higher, and we saw that in Mobile. I do think he has really good upside. He's an incredible athlete. It's just, can he grow quickly into that position where you can rely on him to play right away? And if he's not playing for you right away, who fills that spot?
And why are you picking him at number 10 overall?
I'm texting a Browns other person that I know. I'm going to ask him what he thinks here.
So for one,
ask yourselves.
What I would say, Eric, let's talk about Wills and Josh Jones. What do you think Wills' strengths are as a player?
Well, okay, I was looking at their athleticism, right? I'm looking at how they tested. They both had a 10 cone split at 1.81. So they're dead even on that. But when you look at the explosion scores, Jones is at 28.5 in his vertical and 9'1" in his broad, where Wills is 34.5 in his vertical and 9'5" in his broad. So he's a little bit more explosive, I guess, than Jones is. And I think that shows up too. I think Wills can be a guy who can clear lanes once he gets his hands on a guy, but he does tend to wait for him. But I think he has the athletic skills to play left tackle in my mind. And I know like Jones looks more athletic, but I think Wills he has the athleticism in order to make that switch over to left tackle. I think he's more starter ready. I would still lean Wills here. I get what Jeff's saying, and again, I don't want to go against him here because he knows more about the Browns than we do. But
stuff him
on my board. I have Wills ahead.
Well, he has more.
There's not even close on my board.
Yeah,
Wills is.
I'll take
Wills
that.
is I think 9, and Jones is in the 30s. I think he's 35 for me. So in that case, I would be fine with Wills. I absolutely would.
Scott, you down with that?
Yeah, I am.
Case again?
Yeah, absolutely.
No matter.
All right. There's the answer that I got from the person. He said Wills.
There you go. This is great because as we were putting this together, the one request that Riz had was, let me do Cleveland. Let me do Cleveland.
I thought for sure Tristan Wirfs would be. So I will just say this. I know that if Tristan Wirfs is there, he will be their pick. You can put that in stone.
Yep. Okay.
I don't think he will be, but
yeah.
Thanks, Eric. I love that.
He was not here.
So now that we're done with that, Eric, it's going to be your turn. You're up with the Jets. Who do you think the Jets are walking away with here?
It's the Jets are really kind of unpredictable, right? But like most offenses that have a young quarterback. You need people who you can throw the ball to. They just lost their starting wide receiver,
Robbie Anderson.
Thank you very much, Robbie Anderson. And so now I think you can fill that hole with Jerry Jeudy.
Yes,
I love that fit. That's a great fit.
Yes, I do too. I think he'd be very good for Darnold. Just by the way, their number one wide receiver now is Brashad Perriman. This will be his fourth team in as many years.
I really had high hopes for him. I liked his dad a lot, though, back in the old run and shoot days.
Yeah.
He was good.
Keith, what do you have to say? You're chomping at the bit.
I don't have a problem whatsoever with the Jeudy pick. I just want to provide like a counterpoint to discuss. And if we go back to the Jeudy thing, I'm totally good with that. But they could also use offensive line help. And there is Wills still on the board, who is a quasi blue chip.
Well, they got Thomas is still on the board here too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh God, is Tom? God, I forgot.
Yeah,
Thomas
we took Wills. So Thomas is there and Jones is still there. Okay, and there are some people who will tell you that Austin Jackson. I can't even say it with a straight face.
I can't
do it.
I've got him down.
I can't do it. He's so bad. You don't want him in the third round, Lions fans. You really don't. Not good.
All right. So, really quick, just some feedback about the broadcast so far from JL. Wise move to go with the glamour shot for Bischoff. Dude still has a face for radio, but which is better than Case. He's got the face for radio and the voice for print. So, moving on. Where are we at, guys? We got the Jets here. Or no,
you know what?
We went with Jerry Jeudy on the Jets, right?
I think we'll do that.
All right.
Yeah,
I'm fine with that.
Offensive line, though, does make a lot of sense. I would not argue with anybody who said that they should take Andrew Thomas here.
It does, but don't you think that Sam Darnold is going to love Jerry Jeudy? Jerry Jeudy?
Yes, I do.
Jeudy does well.
So Jeudy, for me, is the best wide receiver since Julio Jones to hit the draft.
Yeah.
He's ridiculous.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
God, and then I've said that. I mean, there's if I could get all the top 10, but 5 or 6 of the top 15 guys to the Lions, this team would be romping. All right, we'll move on. Scott, you're on the clock now for the Oakland Raiders, and it's not Oakland.
It's Vegas.
It's Las Vegas.
Las Vegas, baby.
I'm going to go make that change right now. At least I know the Chargers are in LA.
All right. Doesn't Simmons have to be in the mix here?
Yes.
I don't care about anything else.
I keep forgetting he still is. Okay.
Case, put the beers down, buddy.
All right.
You're losing.
So their linebacker core right now they basically run a 4-3 is Nick Kwiatkowski, who's not bad. They just signed him for quite a bit of money.
Yep.
Corey Littleton, who's also not bad. They just signed for quite a bit of money. And something called Nick Morrow, who I don't know who that is. That's it. And their safeties, they signed Jeff Heath for, again, quite a bit of money, and Jonathan Abram, who's not terrible. Was their first rounder last year.
Yeah.
They have some depth there too.
So if you look at the combination of Abram and Isaiah Simmons, and you let him play in the box, and you let him play a little linebacker, and you can you see Mayock and Gruden falling in love with that skill set?
Hell yeah, yeah.
So if we're projecting what we think they're going to do, I would think Simmons would come off the board here.
Yeah, and the one we did Monday, me, you, and Eric, Scott. This is we had very little time, and it was like Simmons, unanimous.
Yeah.
All right, Eric. As I'm making my changes, they're going to be LAS, right? That's going to be their 3-letter combination, not
LAR, or no? Is it LVR?
LVR, probably.
Yeah.
Or yeah.
All right, LVR. Wow, that's crazy.
My guess is that, Simmons comes in here, he takes over the will, and they can then utilize him if they want to use more. They can use him as a defensive back, like in the slot. They can keep him at the will. They can move him around a little bit more in that situation. He, in a lot of ways, is a missing piece to that defense, and they have good players in a lot of other spots. So
I'm looking at he'd be really good there.
Yeah, he would make their defense pretty complete.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we could argue, maybe this is where we start looking at the Jordan Love. But I think it's Simmons here.
Yeah.
It makes too much sense to me. It's it's the Raiders. It's Vegas. They're going to want a guy like him.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed. Okay. So we're going to land on Isaiah Simmons here. We're going to move forward. Let's see now. It is up to you,
Didn't
Case.
even bother to ask me.
No, because you're going now. You're outvoted. I'm helping you save face.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
On Simmons,
It's you talked about beforehand. You wanted me to help you not make a fool of yourself, so we're working on that. We're going to give you lucky 13. San Francisco 49ers. They're on the clock. Who are you looking
I
at?
have written down, the only note I have written down on the 49ers is if any of the top 4 offensive tackles are there, I want them.
So you're looking at like an Andrew Thomas?
Yes.
Who are you playing him over, Joe Staley or Mike McGlinchey?
Well, I don't know that you get him in immediately, but I do think Joe Staley is like you're at the end there, in my opinion.
Okay. So we have Andrew Thomas on the line right now. What do you think, Riz?
They need wide receiver help too.
I also agree with that.
There is some school of thought that they will want to replace DeForest Buckner. And I don't think Solomon Thomas is that answer. And I don't think they think he's the answer. So there's a possibility there, although I don't see anybody that would really fit that role. This is another team that could use a cornerback. It seems to be a recurring theme.
It makes that trade real dangerous, I think. But go ahead.
It does.
But we just get Jason.
The other thing is they don't have a pick in rounds 2, 3, or 4. The 49ers do not. So
they have 2 first rounds. Right?
But they pick at 31. Yeah.
Right. They have 2
first round picks, and they don't pick again until round 5. But
so they're trading this pick, is what you're saying, Scott?
I don't know if they're trading this pick, but I could make an argument, a very quick argument, why Henry Ruggs might be a very dynamic option for that offense. Who would do? Just think about Ruggs vacating space and clearing space and letting Kittle run into that space, or Debo run into that space. Plus the running game that they've got going on. It's Ruggs to me makes so much sense for that offense. And not even if he's being targeted, for just what he allows other players to do. So that's where I'd be. But I also get that you need to replace Staley, and you'd really do. I mean, Staley is, I don't know how old he is. What is he? 75? No,
that's his number.
They got to be thinking about that. But Ruggs, I think Ruggs is just pure speed, gives them the ability to just, it's a little Tyreek Hill-ish with what he does, which allows Mahomes to target Kelsey and some of their other players and the screen game and all those things. I just think Ruggs is dynamic, and he'd be a great fit here.
And you're absolutely right. Adding Ruggs gives an opportunity, even if Staley's finds that little cliff, gives another outlet, right? It gives another opportunity where maybe you can. It's one of those things, right? With a bunch of great receivers, you can let the line wither a little bit. Just like when you have a great edge, you can let your corners wither, and vice versa. If you got a great set of corners, you can let your edge wither a little bit. So this is an interesting concept.
Staley will be 36 in August.
Wow.
I mean, I don't think I'm wrong in suggesting that.
No, I don't think you are either.
It's time to replace him, but I do get that, it's not the most pressing need they have. And I also agree that wide receiver is a need. And I do think there are 2 guys available still that are very capable guys.
Yeah. And Ruggs would give them that dynamic. The way I compare him is he's Will Fuller, but he can catch the ball and stay on the field.
Yeah.
And I've seen what Will Fuller does for an offense. He does make it a lot easier for everybody else to do about their jobs, even when he's not particularly playing well. And he can't catch and he can't stay on the field, and he's still worth the first rounder for Houston. So I get that. So he's tough to pass up here.
All right, Eric, we need some sense.
The only other
anyway.
I get the Thomas suggestion. I do, and I like the Ruggs fit as well. But the same argument that we're applying to Joe Staley, we have to also apply to Richard Sherman. And Ahkello Witherspoon really isn't the answer. And on their depth chart, their third cornerback right now looks like either Emmanuel Moseley or Jalen Tabor. So,
jeez, he can play.
So
I've never heard
that's
of him.
Yeah. So that's
my God. Yeah, they're rough there.
Yeah, that's why I think a guy like CJ Henderson could be in play here as well.
Richard Sherman, by the way, turned 32 yesterday.
Okay, so you maybe have a little bit more time. Maybe Thomas is the pick here.
I don't know, 32, and he was a 4'6" guy when he came out. So.
Right, he's like a 4'8" guy now, but he's still going. The problem is with corners is that when you fall off hard, right? So
he cannot guard Henry Ruggs.
Oh no! He couldn't guard Ruggs as a.
Ageless, but.
I think you're really down to three guys, and you're basically picking. Are you picking for the future on offense? Are you picking for the future on defense? Or are you picking on a guy that you think can make an impact on offense? And I think that's what you have to figure out.
I think they're going for impact because they were just there. It's now for them, right?
Then that's Ruggs.
I think that's what this team is after. I mean, I don't think you're building a future when you just made the Super Bowl and you just had that taste, right? I think the next step is to push you over the top.
Yeah, because they're going to have to pay Kittle. They're going to have to pay who's their middle linebacker? Warner. And they're going to have some other hands that are going to be out too. So
and think about the luxury of having two rookies, Deebo Samuel. Ruggs is a rookie, Samuel is a second-year player, and getting those guys on first contracts, you're saving a ton of money there. Yeah. It allows you to spend elsewhere.
Yeah. God, Sweat and Samuel last year, Riz. That was a great year to be at a Senior Bowl. There's just so many good players. Oh my God.
We love Deebo so much.
Are we landing on Ruggs' case? I'm going to check in with you since you started this one.
I'll buy in.
All right, Ruggs it is.
I feel like we're bullying him.
It's okay.
No. When I truly feel you guys are in the wrong, I will put out my proverbial foot, but we haven't gotten there yet.
All right. Number 14 to Tampa. Riz, you've got the floor here. The Buccaneers with Tom Brady at the helm.
With Tom Brady.
Okay, this is where I will put my foot down if you guys don't.
It's got to be Andrew Thomas.
Thank you.
There is no other. They cannot roll Tom Brady behind Donovan Smith.
What, with his mobility? I mean, I think he's fine.
Yeah, this is one of those. He's a Bruce Arians type of tackle too. So I get that. I like Andrew Thomas here. Not necessarily that I like him overall for the reasons that we talked about earlier, but I think here they are so loaded at their offensive skill positions that with Brady, if you give Brady time, he's going to find people.
He will hurt you. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Erik, no, blow this whole thing up.
No. I'm here. I'm on the Andrew Thomas train here as well. When you look at their depth chart, they have no depth. It's pretty barren on that offensive line. And I think Tom Brady weighs in here and says, this is what I need in order to be successful. And
so
I think
their offensive tackles are Joe Haig, Donovan Smith, and their third tackle is Brad Seaton, who spent last year on the Browns practice squad.
Future Hall of Famer Brad Seaton.
In my mock that I did, where I had a couple other offensive tackles going off earlier, I had them taking Austin Jackson or Isaiah Wilson because that's who was left at the position, and I just truly feel that is what they need.
Yeah.
Beyond anything else, especially.
So Josh Jones is still out there, but I do think, unless Scott, you want to jump in on that, I think they would value Thomas over Jones.
Well, first case, I apologize for cutting you off. I didn't.
Oh, you're good.
He deserves worse than that. Go ahead.
I do think this could be an area where Trent Williams could end up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so
interesting thought.
I don't know if that changes the trajectory of what we're doing pick wise. I'm not sure it would. In any way, I'm not sure it would. Donovan Smith, I think, is miscast as a left tackle. I think it's pretty obvious that he is. But if you're bringing in Trent Williams and he's your starting left tackle, and Donovan Smith plays right side and Thomas is your developmental tackle, I think that's smart. But if you've got a 2-year window with Brady and you know that, and you feel like Williams can get you there, what's your needs after tackle? Are you looking at, I know this is nuts, but are we looking at a situation where the Buccaneers might take a running back just because the window to win is right now? Does that make any sense at all?
Later.
After taking Ronald Jones, I don't think they're going to go back to the well again.
I knew it was good. I knew it was going to get brought up at some point.
Yeah,
but
but that's something that we haven't talked about. Sorry, Riz, but absolutely, this is a win now move. The Tom Brady signing, right? This is all in. What's going to get them over the top?
But Riz said the way you win now with Brady is you keep him upright.
Right.
I think Risdon said that, right? And so if you give him time,
if I didn't. It's a smart.
Okay. Somebody said that. I apologize, whoever. But yeah, if you keep him upright, it doesn't matter if it's Jones or another or a third round running back. I think you have to keep Tom happy, and that starts with the tackle.
But honestly, there's no way that you. I don't see there's any way that a reasonable football person would, like Tom Brady would say, give me the rookie left tackle over a proven veteran like Trent Williams. That's why I'm bringing up the Williams thing, because that just feeds into we've got a couple-year window to win. That's it. And
I think that's a truly valid point. I'm just not sure that goes so far down rabbit holes. I'm not sure we have the capability to go down right now.
Okay, so again, sorry, Case.
Case, you just shorted yourself. So sorry.
I agree
feel
with
very
Case
disrespected right now.
So Scott, let me ask you this question:
Yeah.
If Trent Williams is their left tackle, is Andrew Thomas better than Donovan Smith at right tackle or Joe Hague at right tackle?
I don't know that Andrew Thomas is better than Donovan Smith this year, like as a rookie. I don't think he is. I think you could say that maybe, in year 2 they might battle it out, but we have to remember rookies they're an unknown. It's an unknown commodity. We have no idea. I mean, we know what their traits are and we know what they could do at the college level, but would I tell you that Andrew Thomas is going to go in and start at right tackle immediately and play at a high level? I would say that's kind of unlikely. Even as the 10th overall pick, he's going to have very up and down moments. He's going to be very wildly inconsistent. That's what he is on film. So I understand the need, that you'd want to fill the left tackle position. And I'm stipulating that you've done it already with Trent Williams. So no, I don't think he's going to replace Donovan Smith as a right tackle right away. I think he's more of a down the road type of move, which is why I'm not sure that they would take a tackle if they fix that position for the next couple seasons. And if it's a rabbit hole we don't want to go down, let's not go down there.
Yeah, he's not on the team now, so I think we have to draft based on what they have now.
Okay, that's fair.
All right,
I totally understand where you're coming from, Scott.
Yeah, I'm with Case on that. I think that's throwing too many variables into a mock draft.
Okay,
honestly,
okay,
that's fair. I mean, that's a very fair thing to.
Yeah,
we don't know what's going to be in the future, so.
Right. Yeah.
Sorry for bringing that up.
No.
It's a good thought. It's a good thought exercise. I'm glad we went down the rabbit hole.
I'm glad we came out.
We'll be fumbling around there again after today for sure, as we head towards the actual draft itself. And it's always good to have those kind of conversations and thought exercises. So moving on now, I believe I'm on Scott. Are you
15?
Yeah.
Right.
15.
Yeah, I'm thinking the Broncos are going to go CeeDee Lamb here.
I think that's a very
CeeDee Lamb.
Yep.
So you're not worried that he's redundant with Cortland Sutton?
No, not so much. I mean,
redundant.
I think he's a little more explosive. I think he's got other stuff that he can do. I don't like him as much as I like Judy and Ruggs, but I think for what Drew Lock does, and for that, the whole gunslinger mentality, and all of the things that Locke likes to do. I like Sutton a lot. I think he's a good player. I think Lamb can unlock some things for that offense. Just the speed and the contested catch stuff and the ability to run after the catch, all those things. I think he's very good at those things. And I think that it unlocks the middle of the field for Noah Fant, which is an important thing for them going forward.
First rounder last year.
Yeah. And so, do I think he's redundant? I think there's a touch of redundancy, but I'm okay with that. Is he redundant with a really good wide receiver? Yes. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I would love to be redundant with Calvin Johnson right now.
Right. And that's actually exactly where my head was at. Like, if there's one position where I'm totally fine with having two guys who have high skills at the same skill set, it's wide receiver.
Yeah, that's where you can really get a comparative advantage, right? Everybody has that number one cornerback. It's really, really rare to have two number one cornerbacks. And if you can elevate your game at the wide receiver level, you can really start taking advantage of other teams offensively if you've
like
got your quarterback. Yeah. Yep, absolutely. Riz, you want to argue? You want to?
The thing I would say is they do need tackle help, and Josh Jones does make sense for what they want because they've gone the other direction with the street brawler in Garrett Bowles, and it has not worked. He just got a penalty while I said that. He's not good. And if they want to protect Drew Lock, and it appears that they're rolling with Drew Lock because they chose Jeff Driscoll as their backup, and I think we know how that's going to go. Then
we think Bowles' issues are worried about getting beat around the corner.
I think his worries are that he's not a good football player and he knows it.
So I think that's fair. Truthfully, and I think that can you hide?
That was obvious in the pre-draft process that he knew that he wasn't good.
Okay, so can you hide some of his flaws kicking him inside? Because he has enough.
He can play guard, yeah.
So, it's a way to sort of fix that problem. If he can play guard, maybe Josh Jones is a reasonable fit here because he's super athletic and,
Yeah.
It's a reasonable thought.
Denver's guards are Dalton Risner, Graham Glasgow, and Elijah Wilkinson.
Okay, so
they're good.
Risner. God, I love Risner.
Yeah, they're another Senior Bowler from 19.
Yeah.
God, that was a good year.
It was a great year. It really was.
Yeah, they're all good years.
We'll see.
So they're good at guard.
I think Lamb. I think Lamb Lamb gives them more than really anybody else at this point. I understand the desire to move on from Bowles. I just, if you're doing it, you're going to do it painfully at this point.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have
any thought? I'm just saying. I'm just bringing this up because I think it has to be mentioned. Their coach is Vic Fangio. He's a defensive guy. Is there anybody on defense that you would consider here?
C.J. Henderson.
Yeah,
I have him going at the next pick
because they have Bouye, and then they have Bryce Callahan as their nickel. They have Kareem Jackson as a safety, Justin Simmons as a safety, but they really don't have an outside corner. They have Yidium, who they took 2 years ago.
That was 2 years ago.
Yeah, right.
Third
in
rounder.
the third.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think maybe he could be kind of slotted in there. So I don't think Callahan is maybe pressing if Yidium is the guy. But which is why I'm still kind of leaning with CD Lamb here as well. But I do think Henderson is worth they take a look at him anyways.
That's fair. Yeah.
Okay. I've locked us in at CD Lamb. If anybody wants to argue that any further.
That's good.
All right. We'll take CD Lamb for the Denver Broncos. And then that moves us up to Case and his wild, crazy pick for Atlanta. Go ahead and spit it out again, buddy.
Yeah, like I just said, it's CJ Henderson, cornerback. That's what they traded to us, their number one quarterback, and that is a major area of need. And I'm not sure I need to go much deeper into it than that. So,
all right. So the only question about that I'm going to have is there any chance that Atlanta, especially after that trade with the Lions, is one of those super hungry teams that might move up to number 4? And do they have a chance to do it? Do they have the treasure to make that happen?
Jesus. Would they do that?
That's
again?
tough for them.
Did that once before for Julio, and I'm not even sure, as good a player as he was, that was worth it. So.
Yeah. I'm just keeping that line open.
I don't think they have the ammo to move up from 16. I think it's too far.
Okay. All right, we got CJ Henderson going at to Atlanta at 16 without what am I thinking? Without objection. That's how they always say it in the Congress.
He's not a top 50 player for me, but I understand that he's going to go this high.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah,
It's the
I just want that on the record. I don't think he's any good.
I'd like to table the motion.
All right, we'll move on. Dallas Cowboys at number 17. This puts us halfway through this draft, gentlemen. You're doing some great work here. Riz, you've got the table. You're Jerry Jones. You look just like him.
Oh, sweet.
Except for the bank account. Sorry. We
Cocaine and hookers, baby.
Wait, let me see. I think I got a good Blandino drop about that.
Oh.
All right. Well, I look for that. Who do you think the Dallas Cowboys are taking?
So I got to look at who's available here. So I'm just going to go through this for my purposes. The top guys that I see left are Kayvon Chason. Josh Jones is still out there. Christian Fulton is still out there. Any of the running backs, they're not taking a running back, obviously. Mm-hmm. They could go off-ball linebacker if they like a guy like Kenneth Murray or Patrick Queen or Zach Bond. Jeff Gladney is there at cornerback. Not a lot else.
Xavier McKinney.
Xavier McKinney would work. I personally like Antoine Winfield. He's my first safety. I don't think he's going to go this high, though, because of his injury history. I think Dallas is especially sensitive to that. So, I'm looking at McKinney as a thought. I'm looking at I honestly think they're going with Kayvon Chason here. I think they need to bolster the pass rush. They just lost. Help me out here. Who'd they lose? He's in Oakland now, or Las Vegas now.
I think someone else did that.
Yeah, Chason.
I've had too much to drink.
There you go.
Just being honest.
I'm just gonna.
I can't remember names. I have a cheat sheet.
Toast.
That's what I'm doing. That's how I did this. So
at least you're still upright. You haven't completely passed out on the broadcast case. Congratulations on making it halfway. All right, we got Kayvon Chason. Erik, I think that's who Riz put forth. Where are you at? You agreeing?
Yeah, I think McKinney could be in the mix. I do think they will consider a corner as well. It's just a matter of which corner do they like the best. I think they would have liked Henderson to fall. But once Henderson's gone, athletically, I don't know if anybody really jumps out there as a standout. So I think Jerry Jones would fall in love with Chason's ability to be an athlete. And so, yeah, I think that makes sense.
Okay, sounds good. Scott, you got a wrench you want to throw in the works on this? Are you
no.
on board? Okay.
No, I think this is the perfect pick for what Dallas is looking for.
Do we want Case to keep talking so he stops drinking and we can keep him sober for another pick or two, or should we just lock this and move on?
All I'll say is that
I think you should keep drinking.
Pick I had for Dallas. So this is the pick I had for Dallas. So
all right.
I'll just interject this. Every Cowboys mock draft that I've seen has C.J. Henderson going here. So if he's there, you're probably going to want to put him if you're doing a mock at home.
Yeah. You think Dallas wants to move up? I mean, based on our draft, do they want to move up to 16 if he's available? Do they want to do any kind of move with
I think they would be a team. It was San Francisco, right, that didn't have second, third, and fourth.
Yes.
I think they would be a great trade partner for Dallas.
Yeah.
Move up and get Henderson. Yes.
Okay. All right. We didn't work that out in our draft, but that's something to think about for day one of the draft. We're moving on to a team we haven't spoken about yet, the Miami Dolphins, I believe is how you say it. Got to put the emphasis in the right syllable. We move to you, Erik. You own the microphone for these Dolphins. Where do you think they're going?
Yeah, I mean, they could go a lot of ways, right? You get your quarterback with that first pick, and so you're looking for somebody who can you're probably looking for somebody who can make more of an impact on defense. It's a tough decision for me, just because I think Eric Rowe is probably going to be a safety there. Maybe I do think McKinney could be in the conversation, but I also think the offensive line is a bit of a mess. And so
their starting left tackle is Julian Davenport, who was not better than the Browns' third-string tackle last year when they were in Houston together.
Right. And so looking at that, I do think McKinney is a guy that they look at, but I do think this is the value at offensive tackle is starting to dwindle fast. And so Josh Jones makes a lot of sense to me here. So that's the guy I'll put forward, Josh Jones.
Josh Jones.
There we go. That was the one I had.
All right. Falling a little further than I thought he would. Scott, Josh Jones, do you have any reason to?
I think that makes a ton of sense. It's Miami and is there any way? I mean, I'm going to keep bringing it up because somebody's going to do it. Is Jonathan Taylor a fit here? Is J.K. Dobbins a fit here?
Maybe at 26.
Yeah. So, I think Josh Jones is a really good fit with Herbert. If we expect a little growing pains with what Josh Jones is, and maybe we think
a lot of growing pains with Tua too.
What's that?
You expect a lot of growing pains with Tua too, so I think you buy into that combo.
Yeah, and I think as they grow as players, I think year 2, Josh Jones could be a completely different guy than he is year 1. Focus on the word could, right? Mm-hmm. So, right. I would say that if it plays out the way this has, Josh Jones really should be their pick here, with the emphasis of looking at running back, maybe at, like Erik said, at pick 26. So I'm on board with Jones. I think it makes a ton of sense.
All right. Case, we're locking it in. You're good, right?
Yep.
All right. Moving on. All right. We're taking Scott to Vegas now. Pick 19 in the 2020 NFL Draft. Clock is on. Scott, who are you picking for the Las Vegas Raiders?
Okay, so we gave them Isaiah Simmons for whatever reason we did earlier, right?
Right. It made great sense at the time. Just move on.
It seemed several. Yes, it seemed that made some sense. But now I do think that there's a need at wide receiver. There's a need at corner. Mm-hmm. You could make an argument that defensive line's a need. Mm-hmm. Offensive line's a need pretty much everywhere. I think maybe Xavier McKinney fits here a little bit. The wide receiver position is super intriguing, and I think there are some players that aren't being considered as highly as they should be, like a Denzel Mims type of player.
Right.
He would be very intriguing in that offense. Maybe a Justin Jefferson, Denzel Mims kind of player. If not, I think then cornerback, safety kind of combination. Christian Fulton from LSU is a good player. So I'll put the 3 names forward. Denzel Mims, Xavier McKinney, Christian Fulton. That's,
All right, Case, it's your job to trim this down to 2.
Well, I just want to add, one name to that.
Jesus, this is the opposite direction we're supposed to.
Yeah, I know, right? Trayvon Diggs, and he's not my favorite, but we know they need a cornerback, and this is the realm in which I think his value is starting to appear.
Where it picks up. All right, Riz, cut this down to 2.
I'm going to add a 4th name. I'm going to add Jordan Love.
That's a 5th name.
5th name, sorry. I can't count.
Erik,
Erik, cut this down to 1.
Well, okay, guys, we could be here all night.
All right. I'm gonna bump both the corners off the list because they signed Eli Apple, they have Trayvon Mullen, and they have Nick Nelson. That's their 3. I'm gonna knock Xavier McKinney off the list because you have Heath and Jonathan Abram, and Simmons can play there in this pinch. So I'm gonna focus back on the offensive side of the ball. I know you threw Justin Jefferson out there, but they have Zay Jones. He's a lot like Zay Jones in that he's kind of a big slot. They also signed Aguilar, who's another slot, and they have Hunter Renfrow, who's another slot. That's why I think Mims makes a lot of sense because he's an outside guy, just like Terrell Williams. And so I would say Mims is the guy. You want one? There's one.
There it is. This is the voice of reason. You guys, can you understand?
You really took control of that, Erik.
Erik's like, enough of this BS.
It was pure chaos before you stepped in.
All right, so I'm going to just overrule Scott right off the top because he had Mims on his list. So Mims is there.
Perfect. You guys don't think that John Gruden's going to be attracted to Jordan Love? Because Derek Carr has a finite ceiling, and this is his last chance to get a guy like this. Because they're not planning on picking in the top 20 next year.
I think Jordan Love would be very much something he would choose to do.
The only thing that makes me hesitate is they signed Marcus Mariota. And so that makes me think they might be comfortable with the two of them and kind of not worry about George Love right now. Just a guess.
Risdon here is like running a blender without the lid on. He's just going to keep throwing names.
As my wife will tell you, I'm an idea person. I don't always think them through, but I got a lot of ideas.
No, I agree though, Eric. I think that
Denzel Mims works for me. So I'm looking at my own personal rankings, and he is number 19. Bingo.
All right.
Best receiver on the board for me.
Denzel Mims. Great pick, Scott. All right.
Thank you. It was the first name he said.
I just want to keep him out of the NFC North. Just please.
All right. Great job, Eric. Got to give him credit, man. All right. Now you have the Jacksonville Jaguars picking at number 20. Eric, can you just shut this down with one again? I mean, do you have the power?
Boy, I was so focused on the Raiders. I apologize. Who did they take the first time around?
Kinlaw.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So
they need cornerback.
You got safety here.
They do.
It's his pick, boys. He doesn't need coaching. He's got it. You're okay.
Yeah. No, I think they definitely are going to go corner here. I think Hayden and having Hayden and Melvin is got to be a scary thought for them. So Diggs, in my opinion, is probably the next one to go off the board. I don't know if, and I think he would fit stylistically with them. So let's go with Trayvon Diggs.
Trayvon Diggs. All right, Scott, do you have any wrenches you're going to throw in this to start things?
No. Nope.
Wow. Okay. Case, what do you got for us, man?
As opposed to, and I agree, but I'm here to cause problems. So as opposed to Christian Fulton.
Yeah, I mean, you could say Fulton, you could say Gladden, you could say Diggs. I think all three of those guys are probably all in that same range. It's just a matter of which one do they prefer. Diggs is going to be a little bit taller, a little bit heavier, a little bit more comfortable in press. I mean, they're all comfortable in press, but I think Diggs' size and willingness to come up and hit, it's just going to be a little bit more appealing to teams.
Yep.
That's why I leaned him. But I could hear arguments against another guy if you think they fit better. I think the three of them are pretty close.
No, I'm with you.
Riz, talk some sense to these people. Oh wait, I went to the wrong guy. So go ahead, Riz.
Yeah, no, Gladney is my number 20 overall player. Diggs is number 22. So I'm okay with either one of them there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gladney, by the way, my comparison for him is Darius Slay, and the Jaguars were allegedly interested in Darius Slay, if that means anything. But I do think that Diggs would fit what they want to do, and the only thing I would say about him is that he does have a little bit of injury baggage, and if they're worried about that, I think they would probably look elsewhere. But they haven't shown that proclivity in the past. So,
all right, so I'm sticking with Trayvon Diggs. We're gonna lock this in. And move on now to number 21. Where do we drop? This is you, Mr. Bischoff, who has just been named by Brandon in the chat, Mr. Bad Wrench, because of your wrenches you're throwing in things, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Philadelphia at 21. Who are they desperate for? They obviously need a cornerback.
Is Patrick Queen an option here?
Anybody's an option.
Would Jim Schwartz love Patrick Queen? Hell yeah.
Yes. So Patrick Queen.
Patrick Queen. Okay. Case, do you have anything to argue with Patrick Queen?
No, I do not. I like the pick.
Wow. Okay. Riz, is it going to be this easy, really?
No, I don't think it's going to be that easy. Sorry.
Okay.
Although, you know what? They did just sign Javon Hargrave, because I was going to say that they could use an upfield attacking tackle, but they got it with Bubble Butt. And that's a term of endearment, by the way. He's great. He was the guy that I really wanted in Detroit, sadly. Yeah, they need linebacker help. They can't roll with Nate Gary there, who, by the way, was the Isaiah Simmons of his time at Nebraska. That Queen over Murray. I don't think there's any dispute that Jim Schwartz would prefer Patrick Queen over Kenneth Murray. at linebacker. And I don't think there's anybody else that's close to those guys in terms of where the NFL is going to see them.
All right, Eric, talk some sense to these fools.
Yeah, no, I'm there too with Jerry, TJ Edwards, and Duke Riley as your linebackers. I don't think that's going to make Schwartz happy at all. And Queen seems to fit exactly what they're looking for. I'm okay with that for sure.
All right.
I did want to say, and I completely agree, and I'm all on board, but I do think they want to add talent at wide receiver. I just don't think there's the wide receiver for them at this point. So,
okay.
Yeah, I think the depth of the wide receiver position, I think this is the range where you're starting to see where do I have to take a guy now when I can get another guy who's like 98% of that, 35 picks later.
Right.
And what Case is saying, I think there's one player who could fit the bill here, and that's Jalen Reagor.
Yeah.
As the vertical option in that offense that they very desperately need. Reagor would fit. Case, that's a good point.
He would.
Thank you. That's the first time somebody said something nice about
There's
me.
the wrench.
You don't know how hard this is going to make my life for the next couple of months, Scott. I just want you to know that straight up, all right?
I will bring it up a million times how Scott said I was right.
That will not be a drop. All right, Case, let me give you the microphone here and let you go to your hometown heroes.
Yeah.
The Minnesota Vikings at number 22. Who are they grabbing here?
Okay.
Hey, has Chicago picked yet?
No.
It's my favorite.
Not yet.
It's like a meme. It's
not
my favorite
today.
But not today.
Okay. So I similarly to the Eagles, I think the Vikings would love to go wide receiver here if there was a stud. But they love drafting quarterbacks. And there might be a couple guys that they look at. I have it. Sorry, I have to scroll over. Arnett. And if any of those other top tier guys are possibly available, that could be an option. But what I really think they'll do is going after Gross Matos. I don't even know how I'm saying
Yetur Gross Matos.
Thank you. Gross Matos.
Gross toes. All right.
On the edge, edge player. So
yeah. What do you think, Riz? Would you like to blow the boat horn on Case here or something else?
So, as you know, I like to be spiteful when I get a traded pick, and so they're getting this pick as a result of giving away Trayvon Diggs. I love the concept of replacing the guy that they traded with the traded pick. Mm-hmm. I believe Justin Jefferson is still out there, is he not? Or is he gone?
Yes, he's there.
Yes.
He'd be really good in there as a big slot for Kirk Cousins, who loves to throw to big slots. And they're not necessarily great at tight end. So that would certainly be a good fit for them in their offense. That's my thought with it. I don't have an issue with Yetur Grace because they do have to replace Everson Griffin.
Yeah. Yes.
And they are in salary cap hell. That's going to cause them to lose some other guys next year as well. And while they're not good at cornerback, they've also spent a buttload of resources at cornerback for better or for worse. And I think they're just going to have to live with that for a little bit.
Sure. All right. Schlitt, does the high stock LSU player Justin Jefferson resound with you? Or are you on the gross toes guy?
The way I'm looking at this is Minnesota has 2 picks in the next 4 selections, right?
They do.
And so I think Gross Matos is going to be one of those 2 selections. He's either going to be there at 22 or there at 25. You just have to look at the Patriots and the Saints that are there. Would someone be willing to trade up for them, and who would they be targeting? Or would either of those 2 teams take the guy that you're maybe looking at? For me, I think corner is still an issue here because while they have invested heavily at corner, they've lost 3 of those corners this year. And so really they have Mike Hughes and then Holton Hill, right? I think that's like their next guy. Yeah. And so corner is such a valuable commodity here. I do think corner is going to be in the mix. And again, that value of this is such a deep wide receiver class. Is it possible to get one of these other receivers a little bit later? Whereas I don't know if you can with the corners. Mm-hmm. So my guess is that they're probably looking corner, and I would say Gladney is the pick, and then they're going to look at Gross Matos 3 picks later.
Okay. No, and I see that Gladney is, for me, is gone already. So he's definitely, at least in my mind, a high caliber talent. Scott, who, by the way, everyone, next time when we do round 2, Scott's going to bring some boudoir photography instead of this glamour shot he's got now. Scott, what do you think? Are we looking at Gladney here, or are we looking at somebody else?
I think Gladney makes a ton of sense. I think when you're looking at wide receiver, as was mentioned, I think you'd have to pair somebody with Thielen. And again, I think Reagor fits pretty well with the speed that Reagor would offer would make things a little easier for Thielen out of the slot. But in the end, I think they've lost so much at the corner position that it's kind of like they have to replace that. You got to replicate that. So I'm with Erik. I think Fulton would make a ton of sense here.
Fulton or Gladney? Which one?
Oh, Gladney. Sorry, Gladney. Yes.
Okay.
I'm with you on that. I think Gladney's a better player than Fulton. I think he fits Mike Zimmer's defense better, too.
All right. Casey, you want to weigh in on Mr. Gladney?
Nope. I am good with it.
All right.
Plus, he wore purple in college. You don't have to change his colors.
Exactly. There you go. Gladney was my dream second round pick, but we already got Okudah at number 5, so I'm fine.
You got to change your dream.
Yep. Trust me, it won't be the first time. I'm sitting here on Plan D now. All right, we got the New England Patriots up, drafting as high as they've drafted in a number of years at 23. Moving to the Riz. Riz, what do you got for this lowly team who's tanking for Lawrence next year? Who are they picking at 23?
I gotta throw out Jordan Love.
Yeah.
He said it. This is the first time it's been suggested without a tongue in the cheek. Erik, are you all in Jordan Love, the new Tom Brady for the Patriots?
Yeah, I think he could probably win that starting job. Because you're talking, you got to beat Hoyer and Stidham, and he could probably do that. And he's probably the last quarterback available that could do that. So, yeah, Love makes sense to me.
All right.
By the way, I don't endorse this pick, by the way. I watched DeShone Kizer. I watched him lose every game that he ever started. And I think DeShone Kizer was better than Jordan Love. But somebody's going to like Jordan Love. Why not Bill Belichick?
All right.
As radical as that sounds.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And they've got a need, right?
Yes, they do.
Scott, what are you thinking? Where's your head on Jordan Love here for the?
I like Love. I think he's got it at times. I think honestly, I think their system and the multiple offensive coordinators and the constant change in their offense and not having really anything in the way of weapons really hurts him. I will tell you that there were some throws he made at the Senior Bowl that were wow throws.
Yep.
Where
true.
You could see it. So
yeah,
there's clearly a lot of work that needs to be done there, and there's some decision-making stuff that's problematic with him as a player. But from a physical tool standpoint, he's a quarterback. They need a quarterback. He's a first-round type of quarterback. It fits. It connects.
Yeah, and look at the Senior Bowl. They showed the arm strength. He had great touch. Good placement, and he had a lot of errant throws as well. And this is the kind of thing where I feel like a Bill Belichick feels like he's going to be able to coach this guy to be able to. He's got the raw talent, and he's just got to bring those things together. I feel like Bill Belichick believes that especially after his Tom Brady run, that he's the guy that can get Jordan Love to do the things that he needs him to do.
That is the most salient point right there. Is that Bill Belichick has the arrogance, and I don't mean that as a derisive term either. The arrogance that he can make that work. Belichick absolutely has that, and you need that with Jordan Love, because if you're wishy-washy with him, he's going to be DeShone Kizer 2.0.
Yep. Case, anything else you'd like to add here?
I'm completely on board. I assume this is what they're going to do. I would be somewhat shocked unless somebody else does something weird earlier in the draft if this isn't what happens.
All right. Thank you. All right. Move on. Now you are taking the role of Sean Payton. Erik, you get the dream pick for New Orleans Saints And what are you looking at for the team at number 24? We've got 11 picks left in this draft.
With Drew Brees being in his at his age, they need to continue to try and make a run now. And they added Emmanuel Sanders to the wide receiver group. They have Michael Thomas, obviously, but why not add Justin Jefferson and try and make this offense go even faster than it already can? I think Justin Jefferson makes sense. It's a little bit out of the box, but that's what the Saints do.
Yeah, no, I don't think you're wrong there. Scott, anything about Justin Jefferson that you don't like going to the Saints?
There is absolutely nothing I don't like about that kind of a move. I think Justin Jefferson is a really good football player, and if his presence on the field facilitates more opportunity for a quick up-tempo passing game for Brees and gets them into that winning window now, I think that makes a ton of sense. It does. Okay. I've said that over and over. It's just, to me, I think that kind of a move is super smart because it makes Michael Thomas better, right? It gets Brees a little more comfortable. At this point in the draft, we're at pick 24. You could take a developing kind of a player, but is that player really going to come in and help all that much right now? So I think Jefferson's presence on the field just makes things a little easier for Brees. And that's kind of the way I would want to approach it.
And I'll only challenge that one part about, are you expecting to make a difference right now? If you're the Detroit Lions and you're picking 24, you are. Right? You are expecting that player to make a difference right now. New Orleans has a little bit of a luxury.
They have a giant advantage, and their talent pool is just a lot better than the Lions.
Yep, absolutely.
It just is.
All right. Case, you want to argue?
I don't want to argue. I have two names that I want to toss out.
I do not like the way that started.
It always is. At least he's not painting the fence brown. He does have an opinion.
Okay. So the two names that I want to toss out are Xavier McKinney and Kenneth Murray, both of whom I think are good fits for them on defense and bigger needs as far as the team overall is concerned. That is my personal thought.
That's fair.
I will agree with the Murray, but at safety they have Marcus Williams, Malcolm Jennings, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, DJ Swearinger. Yeah. I think they're pretty hefty at safety.
CGJ is going to step up for them this year. I think they're pretty confident in that. And that softens the blow at corner a little bit as well. So
Murray, I can understand that argument for sure. I just think if you're going to make a run at this, you got to go with an offensive player for Brees.
I get it, and I don't actually want to argue. I just wanted to.
Can I interject a wide receiver who would make some sense?
All right,
KJ Hamler. Speed. They do not have a vertical threat on that offense. Ted Ginn's gone.
Well, they have Emmanuel
A
Sanders.
quarterback who can throw it vertically.
Sanders isn't a vertical threat, though. He's kind of intermediate range. He's a seam guy, and I guess Hamler probably fits best in the seam too. But if you're looking for that guy who can alter the dynamic of their offense a little bit, Michael Thomas never goes deep. I think I saw that he had 7 targets over 20 yards last year. He's phenomenal at what he does, but they don't have that guy who's going to catch passes 30 to 35 yards down the field. Drew Brees can still throw that. He doesn't do it often, but that's Hamler's the fastest guy in the draft that's left. And I know that he's got some size limitations and some physical limitations, but we talked about this with Ruggs going to San Francisco, how much the speed dynamic impacts their offense. How much better will Michael Thomas be if that safety is 8 yards away instead of 4 yards away? Just food for thought.
No, I agree. And I was looking at this as this being a slot player as well, which is where I kind of view Justin Jefferson as kind of that big slot.
Yeah, they're very different kind of slots than Hamler.
Yes. Yeah. Now, and Hamler is faster, but I also don't think Justin Jefferson is slow. I mean, he's a 4.43 guy. So
he's not slow. No,
It's just, I guess I envisioned Sanders a little bit different. I envisioned Sanders as that guy that they're going to be sending long. Now, maybe I'm wrong in thinking that. I guess that's really what it comes down to is what do they envision in Sanders? If Sanders is that vertical guy, then Jefferson makes sense. If you need a vertical, then yeah, Hamler makes a lot of sense.
Okay, so we're sitting here between Jefferson and Hamler. Scott, where's your head at?
I'm going Jefferson. I just think he's a more complete player with more ability to do things. I worry about Hamler's size. I know that's a little bit of a generic sort of softball type of answer, but
he's 178 pounds. That's a legitimate worry,
especially for a guy that's running deep, right? I mean, he can bounce off that route with an NFL quality corner playing press. He could be in a lot of trouble getting to the position he needs to be.
And you can find, to counter my own point, you can find the vertical stretch receiver with speed later. You know, Ted Ginn was a first-round pick, obviously, but you can find guys like that later who can just run, 7, 8, 9s all day and get 2 targets a game, but it helps the rest of the team. You can find that guy in the 4th or 5th round, too.
John Hightower from Boise, 4.43, run verticals all day, man. That's a guy you can get on day 3.
Yep.
All right, so Justin Jefferson case, unless you completely put your foot down, we're going Justin Jefferson for New Orleans. And
local guy, too. That makes sense.
Yeah. I've lost count. Who's next? Who's got it's Scott, right? Scott's got Minnesota now? Yeah, that's
I thought we were going Gross Matos.
Yeah. I think we have a pretty good consensus on that.
Yeah.
Right
yep.
Okay. So.
Well, next.
Fine. Scott, go ahead and blow your chance. Moving up to number 26, we've got Case. You've got Miami again. You may have heard of them. They're the Dolphins. What do you think they're doing?
I had a really hard time with this when I was doing my own mock. I was searching, and it was based on, what I had done with them previously, and it was Grant Delpit that I eventually decided on the safety that I wanted them to have. But under the current circumstances, they could have what's his face, either safety that
McKinney.
I was talking about. Yeah, and I think maybe that's the route I would go here.
All right, Riz, tell me why Case is wrong.
He's not wrong.
Oh, God.
Sorry, man.
You just keep building this guy up. He's going to be hell to deal with.
He had a good point, though. Sorry, I got a text there that I kind of had to pay attention to. So refresh me where we're at. But I did catch the end of Case's argument, and he made sense with McKinney.
It's the Dolphins.
Miami was
last 26. Yep.
I'm going to go running back here. Their leading rusher last year was Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Mm-hmm.
And Scott and I had this conversation on Monday, and Erik was involved in that too. And we were sort of fighting over which running back they would take here. And I believe we settled on Dobbins, did we not?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ride with that because they cannot have Ryan Fitzpatrick being their leading rusher again. They have missed on so many running backs. And I think that Dobbins is a fairly safe pick as far as running backs are concerned. He's healthy. He's durable. He can catch. He can kind of pass protect when he thinks about it. He can run inside. He's phenomenal on the stretch run, which I think they're going to do a lot of. I think he's probably the best fit here. I do not dispute anything that Jay said about McKinney being a fit here, though, too, because they do need that role as well, especially since Rashad Jones is gone now.
All right, Erik, tell us why Riz is doing drugs again.
Well, I don't disagree with the running back. My inclination has been it could pick 39 could be a running back. It could be here as well at 26. The question is, and it's a big answer, or the big question I have, and I don't have an answer for it, is who plays single high in the Dolphins scheme, because it's such a vital position. And is Eric Rowe their single high? Is Adrian Colburn their single high? I don't know if they have one. And if they don't have a single high, we've seen in Detroit how difficult that is. And if you don't have a single high, you're going to struggle in this scheme. So who's the best single high on the board? Is it Grant Delpit or is it Antoine Winfield? That's the thing.
Winfield is clearly a better player. You have to worry in the fact, though, that his injury history is really bad.
Right. So for me, it would be between Delpit and Winfield. And I'm not sold either way on which one that they think they'd go with. My guess is that they would go with Delpit.
So are we out on McKinney?
No, I think McKinney still belongs in that conversation. He's not a single high guy.
That's right. That's the question I have is who's their single high?
Can I just make a quick point? It really feels like we're talking about the Bears here because they've already gotten 2 picks in the first round, and we got a whole stack of needs for this team still.
It's just a matter of
this was a team that was trying to lose all their games, and they happened to win more than Detroit did.
Yeah, this is really just an absolute
get on our level, Miami.
Well, I guess the thing for me is what's more valuable, getting a safety at this point or a running back? And to me, it's getting the safety. It's getting the defensive player. You can get running back.
Definitely. You can get running backs late. Yes.
And in our scenario, they've given up multiple second-round picks to the Lions to jump up to 3.
Well, that's right.
I don't think you need to worry about taking a running back in round 2 to find a player who can help you immediately.
Right. Yeah, I'm not taking a running back in the first 3 rounds in this draft, but that's just me.
Well,
that's fair.
Okay.
Fair.
So we've got J.K. Dobbins here, though, still on the plate. Are we erasing him?
He's very good, but running back is the least important position on the field for a Patriot-centric team. Right. That includes the Lions. It includes the Dolphins.
Okay.
Includes the Titans, too, even though they have Derrick Henry.
Yep. Okay.
Well, I think
certainly includes the Texans, too.
So are we on McKinney then?
If it's McKinney,
Delpit.
If you think it's if you think Eric Rowe is their single high, then McKinney is the better player.
Oh, man.
But if you think Eric Rowe is the Trayvon Wilson or maybe the Tracy Walker, I don't know if they have a Tracy Walker on this team, but it's just, I don't know. I think McKinney's the better player, but I don't know what their plan is with Eric Rowe. Their whole back 7 doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
No. They've got zero depth back there too.
They have good corners, but nothing in the middle.
Yeah. Their safeties are Eric Rowe, Adrian Colbert, and Clayton Fedulum. I love Fedge, but he's a special teams guy.
Right.
That's it.
Right. And if you're going on best player, then it's McKinney. But I just don't know if they can afford to take – I think McKinney can play like the Tracy Walker role for Miami, but do they need that? I think they need somebody that can be in the middle of the field, and that seems like it's either Delpit or Winfield.
Here's my argument why I think it might be McKinney is just that they are truly in as transitional phase as a organization can be. And so – in that situation, it leaves you open to picking a guy like McKinney, who isn't necessarily the best scheme fit for what you're running at the moment, but might be the better talent in terms of ceiling. So maybe that's the direction I'm leaning, but I'm really not super convinced by that either.
Okay, so we're riding Delpit right now. Is there anybody speak now or forever hold your peace?
I'd vote for Delpit. I have no problem with that.
I think it's Delpit. I think he just fits what they need, and I think they're going to be fine with what he can do, and they're going to care more about his range than his missed tackles over the last couple of seasons. I think the range is what they really need on that back end.
All right. Good stuff. Thank you, Case. You've made your point. You survived the gauntlet, and your player got picked. Good job. Good job. Moving on to Riz at 27. We've got the Seattle Seahawks. And what do you think?
27 again.
God, those were great years.
It was a good year.
Yeah.
It was a really good year.
Those were good. All right. We got the Seahawks now at 27, unfortunately, in our prime. Who are you looking at?
They are an interesting team because they forever need offensive line help. Forever. Mm-hmm. And so it doesn't matter who they draft. Well, they do have Quandre Diggs, so
they're going for safety.
They need a cornerback. They probably need 2 cornerbacks, to be honest with you. Their depth chart is so paper thin, especially on defense. They have 0 depth anywhere. They could use a pass rusher. Ziggy Ansah is not back. I don't think he's going to be back.
No.
It didn't work for them. He got, I think it was 4 sacks. No, it was 4 sacks in 11 games.
But is anyone surprised?
No. And by the way, he apparently weighs about 250 pounds now, interestingly enough. So they got to look at pass rusher. The pass rushers that are here. I'm looking at my notes here. Forgive me for scrolling in front of you. I like Zach Bond. I like AJ Epinesa. I think Epinesa is a guy that Pete Carroll would like. I will say this, and I made this in a different mock that I did. Justin Madubuike out of Texas A&M as a wrecking ball up the middle. He is reckless for better and for worse. Those are the kind of guys that Pete Carroll tends to lean towards because he thinks that, again, coaching arrogance, not a bad quality. He's going to think that he can, I can make that guy my Aaron Donald. So I'm going to go there, even though it's not necessarily their biggest need, because I think they're going to see him as a very useful player for what they want to do.
So I want to make sure I got this. AJ Epinesa, right? Is that
no, Justin Madubuike.
Sorry. Okay, that's why I asked, because I
Epinesa would be absolutely fine, and if anybody wants to argue that it should be him, I would have no problem with that.
Okay. Hit me, Eric. Argue so I can type this in the scroll easier.
I think the big thing that would prevent them from taking Epinesa is they just took LJ Collier in the first round last year.
Yeah.
So, and they're stylistically similar.
They are.
They brought back Reed. They have Poona Ford, but they do. I mean, Reed's not a penetrator. Poona Ford isn't a penetrator. They need a penetrating interior guy. Madubuike gives them that. I'm okay with that pick. I think they're comfortable in most of their other spots on defense. So, yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. I think Madubuike makes sense.
All right, Mr. Bischoff.
Yeah, I think it makes sense too. I mean, he is very disruptive inside, and that's it's a really important thing, for that defense, is being able to create some interior pressure.
Excellent. Okay. Case, where are you at here, buddy?
My need to use the restroom is increasing rapidly, but so I don't really want to go into this. But the only other name that I sort of wanted to throw in there was Cesar Ruiz. He reminds me a bit of some of the interior offensive linemen we've seen in recent years who snuck into the first round. So I just want to throw that out there, but I don't want to argue with the overall point either. So.
He'd be a good pick for them too.
He would.
Absolutely. Yes, he would.
Okay, I need a spelling really quick. I'm
Madubuike. It's Madubuike.
Thank you very, very much. You're the man.
That's it.
He, by the way, is my dream second round pick for the Lions if they don't get Chase Young in the first.
Right.
I'd love him in Detroit. Love him.
Yep. Okay, so we will move on then. We have who are we on next for picking? Was that Riz that got to?
I think so. We're at 28 now, right? Yes, I started that off. We're with the Ravens now at 28.
Yeah, Ravens at 28 to you, Mr. Schlitt. Who do we have going to Baltimore?
Kenneth Murray. They need an interior Mike linebacker. Yeah. Makes sense.
I completely disagree. Explain exactly why he is wrong, Scott. Make my point for me.
I don't think he's wrong, but just to think about Marshall Yanda retired. Case mentioned his name, a minute and a half ago. Cesar Ruiz would be a really good fit there.
Okay.
So there's 2 names, and they both would be fine picks at this point.
Okay, so Scott isn't very passionate about either one of those names. Case,
nope.
Give us.
Can I mention one more name?
Yeah,
never
please.
moves us along at this point.
Sorry. Antoine Winfield is becoming a value. Antoine Winfield is a playmaker. He's becoming a value at this point.
Right.
So, could we see a scenario where a team jumps up to the late first round for a player like him? Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, Case, why don't you make your point and then make your brief exit before you return?
I'll filibuster for you, buddy.
We'll find here.
What's going on?
We're good. No, I agree. I'm with that.
Okay. I don't know who you're with, though. You didn't say a name.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are we on the Titans? Is that where
we're on
the Ravens.
28.
Sorry, I got distracted. No. I did. Okay, Ravens. I liked what I really wanted to see for the Ravens was Patrick Queen, but Kenneth Murray is probably where I'd go.
Okay,
so I agree with Erik on that one.
We got 2 Kenneth Murrays and a 1/3 of a vote from Scott for Kenneth Murray. Where you at, Riz?
I think Murray is the pick that Eric DaCosta would make. I would not fight at all that Cesar Ruiz should be the pick. And looking at their interior offensive line depth chart, they need it, but they're also a team that's been really good at finding offensive linemen in the middle rounds. Guys like Rick Wagner, guys like Marshall Yanda, and I think they'll find that again this year. I think they're going to value – they need – their defense is unusual in that they rely on those off-ball linebackers to do a lot for them, and they don't have one right now. They need it, especially with Matt Judon going to be gone next year because they're not bringing him back again.
Sure. All right, we'll lock in Kenneth Murray. We move on now to Tennessee, which I think lands in Scott's lap. Scott at 29th, Tennessee. Who are we picking? Marcus Mariota?
AJ Epinesa would be a really good pick here.
Yeah. Case, what's your argument?
Is he still on the board? Jesus,
he is.
Gone a while ago. Yeah, no. If he's there, I mean, he's not my favorite player in the draft by any means, but when you get a player that falls that far, it suddenly becomes a matter of just take him based on talent because he's there. So,
okay, we'll go there. We're gonna run as long as the real draft guys on the first day. Do you know that?
Sweet.
We're really killing this here. Now you know what goes on in the big rooms there. AJ Epinesa is on the board right now as the possible pick for Tennessee. Riz, you in?
I am, but I would say that they do need to replace Jack Conklin. I know they have Dennis Kelly, but it's Dennis Kelly. Yeah. You know what? I'm perfectly fine with it just dropped out of my head. Yes, Epinesa. He's my number 9 overall player. I have no problem with him going at 20.
That's okay. That's my Kukli moment lived out by the Riz. Good move.
Yeah.
All right. Here we are. Erik Schlitt. He's got the gavel, and he's going to break the whole thing wide open. Epinesa, are you going to change your mind?
No, I'm good with Epinesa. They took Jeffrey Simmons last year. They can kick him to the defensive tackle and then just plug Epinesa right back into Simmons' spot from last year and just roll. And then they're doing good.
I've seen Trey Flowers comps to Epinesa.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a bigger version.
Yeah. Yep. All right, moving on. Pick number 30. Only 5 left to go. Case, you've got the ball here. What are you thinking?
Well, I had Justin Jefferson. So I have to rethink my strategy here because he's gone. I don't think
this is Green Bay, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I had Justin Jefferson. I suppose T. Higgins is still on the board, isn't he?
Yeah, he should be.
Yeah, he'd better be.
Well, that inspires confidence in this pick, but we'll take it anyway, just for the hope of them doing something not good. But I mean,
yeah.
I mean, they are so desperate to add something for Rodgers to throw to. And it's not getting any better anytime soon. So they have to pour their resources into it. So, I mean, T. Higgins being, an amazing player or not, I feel like if he's there, once again, you're starting to reach the realm where even if he isn't necessarily a true first round talent, you're reaching the realm where his talent fits the value, sort of.
All right. Riz, if you want to stand up and laugh and point, this is your opportunity. Who is your pick for Green Bay?
Jalen Rieger's still on the board. Right?
That's where I would be going. That's a home run.
Yep.
Okay.
Easy one.
You guys got me.
Easy pick for them. Yeah.
Yep. Case is not updating his board. I heard Scott already go in on that. Erik, are you good with that?
Yep, that's my guy.
All right.
And I hate it. I hate that he goes there.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah. I'm just glad it wasn't Jerry Jeudy. There was a lot of talk early in the offseason about Jerry Jeudy going to
that would suck.
The Packers, and that made me very sad.
The Packers with any picks sucks. Let's just face it. All right, 31 to you, Riz. San Francisco 49ers are back on the board. Last time up,
they took Henry Ruggs the first time around. Yes. This is a spot where I can get the Joe Staley replacement and get him into the pipeline, and it's a perfect guy to do it. Lucas Nyang from TCU, a developmental tackle who was phenomenal. He kicked Chase Young's ass in 2018. He did not play well last year because he had a hip injury. He's better now. He is a better tackle than some of the guys who are going to go before him in the actual draft. I love him here. I think he's a home run hit right here.
Excellent. I sense some confidence. I sense some coaching arrogance, which we know is not a bad thing.
I love it.
Erik, where are you at?
I heard all the confidence. I didn't hear the name. I'm sorry.
Lucas Nyang.
Oh gosh. Okay, so it's the injuries, right? It's just that.
He had a hip. He had the same injury that Jarvis Landry had. It's the sacral. It's where your pelvis and your tailbone come together, and there's a muscle there. Yeah. And he tore that muscle, and it's been surgically repaired.
You don't need that. You don't use it.
Stop talking, please.
not a happy man injury.
That's the muscle that Case is flexing right now.
If you want me to stand up, I'll show you.
In realistic, I will say this: Austin Jackson is still out there, and I have a feeling that the NFL likes him, even though I think he's terrible. So he has to be considered here too.
What about Christian Fulton?
Yeah.
Is he still out there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he would be the Sherman replacement, right?
Yeah.
He's a better player than either player I mentioned. So I'm with you there. If you want to go with that.
Yeah,
I don't think Scott would object to that either.
I don't object to it. I just think that the offensive line might be a greater need right now.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot of question marks though. That's
it is.
At this point on the offensive at the tackle, it's just you got questions. And I mean, at what point is the quarterback market going to fall off? That's the only thing I'm thinking.
And again, they don't have another pick until round 5. So I don't know if that sways us either way.
So
they on the board? This is a place where somebody is going to trade in from the second round into the first.
Yeah. Yeah.
And San Francisco would certainly be willing to do that. I don't think we have the time or brain power to do that at this point, since we've been going on 2.5 hours here. So but I think in reality, this pick will be traded.
Okay.
But for our purposes,
where I had Christian Fulton going to begin with, so I'm on board.
There you go.
And that makes a ton of sense.
It does.
As the Sherman replacement. It really does. And that's really good value at this point in the draft.
Yep. I'm with that. I'm good.
Okay. So Christian Fulton we landed on?
Yeah.
I didn't realize he was still on the board.
He's like the last corner before it's like in a whole nother tier.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Yeah. Moving on then. We're on Erik now, right? Erik, it's your turn. All right, Kansas City, a team that doesn't need anybody really. Who you got?
They need one spot, center. They need Cesar Ruiz. Cesar Ruiz makes sense to me.
Scott,
I'm not objecting.
A bad wrench?
Nope, no wrenches.
No wrenches.
I really don't want to extend this again. I did consider DeAndre Swift here for them.
They do need a running back. There is no doubt they need a running back.
But that can be addressed later. I completely agree. It would be a little weird to go through a whole first round and not have a single running back taken. So I feel like someone's going to take one.
I don't.
But
this is the NFL, my friends.
Yeah.
All right.
Ruiz makes sense. They started 3 guys who got cut by the winless Browns last year on their interior offensive line.
Wow.
Think about that. And they won a Super Bowl. doing that. Tells you the value of offensive line and building it up. You're only as good as your worst offensive line player. For whatever reason, Cam Irving wasn't terrible. He's gone now. They got to replace him. Cesar Ruiz is perfect for it.
Yep, absolutely.
Great pick.
Cesar Ruiz is locked in. Scott, you've got – now, we would be done now. This is how we originally started, but Riz wanted to go on to the second Lions pick.
The Lions are right there.
And it just makes sense. It just makes sense. Case is building his what was the muscle bias sacrum? Which one was it?
Stuffed.
He's working on his core muscle strength.
Yeah, absolutely he is. All right, Scott, besides Case being the bungler, let's get the bungles in. What do we have for a pick for their first pick of the second round?
So you could see them needing an offensive lineman, a developmental tackle. Jeff mentioned him. We're going to go Lucas Niang.
Okay, good one. Case, where you feel? I mean, let me rephrase that because I know what you're going to answer. What do you think of this pick?
Fine with that. Not going to argue right now.
All right. Riz, you feeling good, friend?
I am, but I do think that, like a lot of NFL teams, they might see Austin Jackson as a better prospect. Again, he's not, but I can see them thinking that. But I'm perfectly fine with Niang. Niang, however you say it. I should know how to say that.
Eric, break the tie. Is it Niang or
No,
Jackson?
I
got a new name.
I'm with Jeff here. I do think they would. The Bengals seem like they would lean toward Austin Jackson.
I have to hire myself.
Yeah. It's just Niang has a better ceiling and a better foundation, but the injury is the huge question mark. And without the medical checks and stuff like that, I see him dropping a bit, and that's why I think Jackson makes more sense to me.
And Chris, you will vouch for this. When we were in Mobile this year, we heard a lot about Austin Jackson, about how high teams are on him for whatever reason. I don't see it. I don't get it. But
it's got to be something in the meeting room, right? I mean,
maybe
what we saw on the field wasn't horrible,
he's okay.
Right? It wasn't like he completely disqualified himself, but there was a lot of talk about him from people, and it seemed to be based on something we didn't see. So, all right, we're going to lock in Austin Jackson here, and down to the last two picks of our consensus draft here. We have the Indianapolis Colts with the second pick of the second day in the second round. That's 222s for Indianapolis. Case, what do you got?
I am thinking.
And nothing's happening. Right?
I got through. I got through the first round.
So what did they give us in the first round again? Refresh me here.
They didn't have one.
Oh, that's right. That's right. This was their first pick.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
So what we're looking at here is like,
that's right. They traded to San Francisco.
Consider a quarterback? Probably not. Not here anyway, unless they think this is their last opportunity to get what's his face, the only other guy worth mentioning. Do they want
Jalen Hurts? Maybe.
Yeah. Thank you. Do they want a wide receiver here? Because there are still some good wide receivers, good-ish wide receivers here.
They're not bad at wide receiver, but they could use somebody.
Right.
You can say that about a lot of their positions.
Defensive back and defensive line are both things they could consider. And here's where I sit at this moment in time. We have gotten this far, and there is literally only one player that I have left out of the top 20 that I had initially. And so even though he's not a position of need, would I consider him at this point? Probably. And that's McKinney.
Interesting. Okay.
He's a nice fit with Malik Hooker.
He is.
He would be.
So that's just where I'm at on that one. But,
all right. You're sitting there hopped up on pills in the GM room of the Indianapolis Colts. Riz, what are you thinking?
Oh my God. Playing the guitar.
Oh. That was great, by the way. That was
pictures of you with a hooker in the limo.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in Indy. My highest rated player that I have left on the board is Zach Bond, and they have Darius Leonard, who probably plays the same spot. They have Bobby Okereke, who's not bad at that other linebacker spot, so they probably don't need him.
Right.
I don't think he's a rusher in the NFL. I think he's more Joe Schobert than he is T.J. Watt. But if they want to see him as a rusher, they could use that because Justin Houston is like my age, and Kemoko Toure probably got hurt while I'm saying this. You'll notice a theme there. Real quick flashback. I'm sorry, Keith. I went to see Kemoko Toure and Rutgers play at Michigan. They didn't even play. He played 4 snaps and he was healthy. That tells me that he's probably not great in the NFL. If granted, it's Rutgers, but I like Vaughn. I don't mind McKinney there because he would be a good fit with him, and they do need help because I'm looking at their depth chart right now. They have Kyrie Wills, who's not bad, and then their third safety is old friend Roland Milligan. Yeah, that's a hole.
Yeah.
Did anybody see Michael Pittman going here?
I would love it, but I don't think he's going to go that high. He's great. He would be worthwhile to me, but I don't think he's going to go that high.
Chenault. What about Chenault?
Oh,
see, we talked about the injuries with Winfield, and Winfield would be my choice here over because he's a much better player than McKinney in my book. But again, the injuries are with Chenault. He's got the Kerryon Johnson thing where he gets hurt in the last game of every year, so you don't notice that he misses games, but he's always hurt. He never has like an off season where he's just like getting better. He's just recovering.
He is so dynamic, though. He is, man.
Oh, he's great. He's
pairing him with T.Y. Hilton going forward.
And Paris Campbell.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a deep threat. You got your gadget gimmicky player in Chenault.
He's really good.
Yeah.
I like that pick. But again, will the NFL trust his medicals when they can't look at him? I don't know.
I don't know either.
All right.
That's a good point.
We can't answer that.
What we got to answer is who the Indianapolis Colts going to take with pick number 34. Erik, calm these guys down. Give us the name. Lock this in.
I think it's McKinney. I think the Okereke keeps Vaughn out of the mix for them.
I agree.
And I do think Kahari Willis is good, but I think that McKinney makes he's probably the highest rated player left here, and they can't go wrong with him.
All right, I'm locking in Xavier.
I'm not going to disagree.
Xavier McKinney. We're on to now pick number 35. The last pick of our draft. And boy, is it going to be a good time. Detroit Lions are up, and Scott, you've got the mic. Take us home. Is it Scott or is it Erik? I think it's Erik.
It can be Scott. Let's go, Scott.
All right.
Erik is he's much more famous and handsome and all that.
I'll give you 50%.
I'm not bitter about it at all. By the way. So we're looking at edge, defensive line, and wide receiver. I think are the primary positions that I think they will target here. In our exercise, we have the ability to target all of those very quickly because we have a couple more second-round picks coming up.
That's right.
Zach Bond, I think, has to be in consideration. I think a player like Brandon Ayuk from Arizona State has to be in the equation here for the way he offers a differing set of skills from what they have. Remember, Marvin Jones is not signed past this year, and he will not be coming back.
Correct.
Edelman signed a 1-year contract. Probably shouldn't be coming back in 2021. He shouldn't be.
Amendola.
Galladay is going to get a massive extension, but I mean, the hole is massive in the wide receiver room. So there's that. Bond, very good player. We got cornerback early with Okudah. So it's to me, it's wide receiver, defensive line, and potentially a player like Josh Uche or Zach Bond. Those two guys at edge. Is there a player in this range that the Lions would be intrigued at as far as a defensive tackle? And I don't know that there is. Justin Blacklock's a really good player, but I don't think he fits what the Lions do defensively at all. So, just for what's on the board, I think it's, kind of weeding them out. I think we're looking at wide receiver and edge. So I don't know where you guys are with the edges. I think it's Bond and Uche. I think Ayuk is a really good player. He's a really intriguing guy. Much more athletic than your prototypical just throw him in the slot because he can't separate kind of thing. He's not that. He's super athletic, and he would be a dynamic option here. Yeah. So to me, it's Ayuk and Bond and Uche, and it's just a matter of how do you parse those out. right?
Ayuk's most natural comparison is to Golden Tate. If you miss Golden Tate, you're going to like Brandon Ayuk in this offense a lot.
Oh, I do miss Golden Tate.
And you got a guy in Matthew Stafford who can elevate a guy, especially even in his first year, especially with that skill set.
Yeah, he's not as shifty like that stop and go stutter dead leg stuff that Golden does so well.
Yep.
But they operate in similar spaces in similar ways.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right,
I think
Case.
he might have a little more long juice than Golden Tate had.
I would agree with that.
All right, Case, let's whittle this list down.
Oh,
Who do you
I
have?
want to whittle. I
Me
want to
too.
whittle. Okay, but there's two names that I see here that I have to say, and
I don't
it
have
is
a
defensive
container I can
lineman
pee in.
Neville. I am shaking over here. Neville Gallimore and Ross Blacklock, and I don't know enough about them to say whether or not either of them is even remotely a fit for this team, to be perfectly honest. I just know that they're highly regarded
All
by
right,
some.
Stop talking. Eric, give me some relief, man.
All right. Here's what it comes down to. For me, Ayuk makes a ton of sense, but you also have KJ Hamler on the board, which gives you a little bit of breathing room. I think they're both in the same tier. Because of that, and you're picking 5 picks later, you can probably get the other one in a couple of picks. I don't know if you have another Zach Bond that's within 5 picks that you're going to get.
Yeah.
Zach Bond is the guy for me. I love UJ. I think UJ can go here, but Zach Bond is clearly a bigger separation with him than there is between like an Ayuk and a Hamler.
See, I like this Eric guy. He thinks like I do, and he comes up with one name, Scott. What do you think, Riz?
I have one finger for you.
I've been number one in your heart.
Eric essentially just spoke what I was going to say.
Ooh, okay.
Zach Bond is my best player available off my big board. I like that he can do a lot of different things. I see him being really good in the NFL. I think he's got that it. I know they're overloaded at linebacker right now. If you're somebody who wants Jared Davis off the roster in 2020, Zach Bond pushes him off the roster because he pushes Christian Jones inside full-time to that role, and there's nothing for Jared Davis to do. You can flip him for a 7th-round pick in 2021 and be happy about it.
Yep, absolutely. All right, we've got 2 votes. We just need one more to ratify the Zach Bond pick. Can we get that out of Scott or Case?
No, we're going Bond.
All right.
Bond it is.
There it is, the
I just want you guys to be able
35-man
to
draft for the NFL 2020. Guys, great work. I love the thought that went into this. I love all the hard work you put into this. Big shout out, of course, Jeff Risdon from Lions Wire. Erik Schlitt, man, great to have you on again. We've got to do some more of these collabs. It's a lot of fun. Also from Lions Wire and the Lions Breakdown podcast, Scott Bischoff. You guys know him. He's from WJR podcast. He's a contributor at Lions Wire. He is everywhere where cool kids hang out, which is why he's here, right? And then, of course, Case, my long-term favorite co-host ever. And that's it. All right. Thank you all for tuning in. We love it. Thank you for joining us. Thank you guys all for joining. It's been great to have you. A lot of great stuff here. And we will talk to you next time on the Detroit Lions podcast.